Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our City Council work session. Today is Monday, March 28th, 2022. Before we begin, I'm going to ask if you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Jennifer Martinez from our Communications Office is going to introduce our Pet of the Week.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I am Jennifer Martinez with the city's Communications Office. And today I have a very handsome cat for you to get to know. This is Remington. This guy is about 5 years old. He loves good conversation and he adores getting smooches from humans. Remington does have a sensitive stomach, which has him on a prescription food, and that is to keep him healthy. And he knows that the right family will spare no expense for him. And then we have Belle. Belle is 4 years old. She was a mommy when she arrived at the shelter. Belle has since cared for her puppies until they found a home, but now she is looking to get her turn for a loving home. Unfortunately, Belle does have heartworms and she will need some treatment. The treatment can be costly, but the amount of love she can give is guaranteed to be more than worth the cost of her treatment. You can meet Belle at Remington by calling the ASCMV to make an appointment. There is a Lucky Paws adoption special that's going on at the shelter right now through Thursday, where you only pay half of the adoption fees. You can call 382-0018 to learn more. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Jennifer. And now we're going to hear from Dr. Francisco Payadas, the Jobs of the Week update.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. These are your jobs of the week. And for today, the City of Las Cruces is hiring a community outreach manager, and this position is paying between $26.92 to $38.38 per hour. This position will be closing on April the 18th for 2022. We also have a a position available with Cervantes Enterprises Incorporated, and this is a forklift driver. This position is paying between $12 to $13.06, depending on the experience, and this position will be closing on the 20th of April of 2022. There's also a position available with Tresco Incorporated, and this is a direct support professional caregiver. This position will be paying between $11.50 to $13 an hour, depending on the experience, and closing on the 20th of May of 2022. There's also positions available with La Clínica de la Familia. This is with behavioral health support specialist. This position will be paying $15 an hour, and it will be closing again on the 20th of May of 2022. There's also positions available with the Distinction Center, LLC, Roswell Jobs Corp. And this is for enrollment specialist for Las Cruces. The salary for this position was not disclosed, but this position will be closing on the 9th of April of 2022. As a reminder, there's going to be a recruitment event. This is with Youth Development Incorporated, and this is at the New Mexico Workforce Connections office here in downtown Las Cruces on Wednesday, March the 30th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So if you're looking for unemployment, if you're looking for a job, there's this event going on at the New Mexico Workforce Connections office on Wednesday from 9 to 3 p.m. Again, as always, for a full list of jobs, internships, and volunteer opportunities, please visit employeenm.com or also the governmentjobs.com/careers/Las Cruces. And for the information with our friends at the New Mexico Workforce Connections, the phone number is 524-6250, and they're located at 226 South Alameda Boulevard here in our downtown Las Cruces. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Payadas. Okay, we have 3 items on the agenda, and to help accommodate some of the media's deadlines, we were going to move the adult use cannabis first and then the arms quarterly second. So,
sorry, Mayor, it's me here. Sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to follow up really quick on something in the Pet of the Week.
Oh, sure.
Sorry to interrupt you just in the zone. But as an individual person who loves mama animals that need new homes. I just wanted to offer that whoever, and I'll get with the animal services folks to follow up on this, but whoever is up for adopting Bella, I will happily pay for her heartworm treatment to throw in something to sort of incentivize folks to take her home because she's an adorable dog. So I just wanted to put that out there in the record. So thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that generous offer. I'm going to have to get you a certificate for. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go to the adult use cannabis update. And looks like Assistant City Manager Ikani Tamopeo will start it off.
Mayor, did we want to allow Councilor Bencomo to participate telephonically?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. She's on the phone, so we're going to need a motion and a second to allow Councilor Bencomo to participate telephonically.
So move, Gandara.
Second by Flores.
Okay, motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, second by Councilor Flores to allow Councilor Johanna Bencomo to participate telephonically. Christine?
This is on the motion to allow Councilor Bencomo to participate telephonically. Councilor Abeda?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo? Yes. Councilor Coran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gandara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, now we're at the adult use cannabis update, and Assistant City Manager Ikani Tamopeo will present.
Thank you, Mayor Miyagishima and City Council. Ikani Tamopeo, Assistant City Manager. I have with me our internal team that has been working to update cannabis. Behind me, I have from Community Development, Catherine Rogers, and from Building, I have Tim. From Budget, I have Matthew. Economic Development, Monica and Irene. From Public Safety, I have DC Danes, and also from Legal, I have Rob and Jennifer. These are the members of the internal team that will share on the impacts and the updates from the various departments on how we addressed cannabis from when this was passed last year to where we are now. So here's the cannabis landscape. Just a refresher for those joining the cannabis topic, here in New Mexico became the 17th state in the nation legalizing recreational cannabis. After New Mexico passed, a few weeks after, Connecticut became the last and most recent state to have passed adult use cannabis. What you have in green are all the states that have passed only medical adult use cannabis legislation. Blue are all the states that have legalized adult use cannabis and medical, and in gray or white are all the states that still remain illegal. So what you have here are a visual impact of what's happening around the nation. The cannabis timeline that we sought to reach when Governor Grisham passed this back in June 2021, and this went into effect then, September 1st. Just a refresher for those that are joining this conversation, there were 3 types of business licenses that were opened and accepted. These were the producers, the micro business producers and cultivation companies, so that they could catch up to when dispensaries were selling. This opened up September 1st, 21st, and as a team that I introduced briefly, that we had our goal to meet this deadline September 7th. City Council addressed cannabis legislation and zoning in the zoning code, and policy was passed September 7th, a few days after those licenses opened in September 1st, 2021. New Mexico accepted all business license at the beginning of the year, at New Year's, all other 10 business types. And here we are before April 1st with an update to you, Council, so that if there are any questions that you're getting from businesses or the community members, we would love to hear them so that we can best address them. So just wanted to give, before I turn over the time to our community development team, there are a few updates happening at the federal level. There is the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment Expungement Act, or the MORE Act. This is currently on the floor right now on the federal level. It is on the House of Representatives. This was actually approved back in 2020, so this is not the first time that this has come to the floor on the federal level. This essentially would do what the New Mexico bill last year did for New Mexico. It would decriminalize cannabis and it would deschedule it from the Schedule 1 drug on the federal level. And it would expunge the record from those that had any priors. This, again, for those who are in the industry, the sentiment is they feel that it will pass on the House floor. But going to the Senate is a different question. Just wanted to share this as a heads up of what's happening at the federal level. As things are, there is momentum towards this push at the federal level. But again, the sentiment is that it'll get stuck in the Senate. One of the things for updates to be aware is you, Mayor and Council, that we should expect shortages. Typically, states opening with adult use cannabis, there are shortages that happen. There are a lot of things that are out of our control. The state is being bombarded with applications. Dispensaries are trying to open. Also, the city has to approve those applications as well. We have testing facilities that we currently do not have at this time south of the Border Patrol and the border checkpoints. But we do have one anticipating to open at least by the end of the year. There are 2 testing facilities up north, and there have been companies and producers already testing samples and successfully checking through and passing through checkpoints. There is a Cannabis Expo set for later this year. This is hosted by the Southwest Cannabis Trade Association, which is representatives of a few associations and organizations here in this region that is planning to host in Las Cruces the expo. And they are right now branding it as the Southern New Mexico Cannabis and Hemp Expo, planned for late summer. And that is something that I just wanted to make everybody aware as an update that there is plans to have this happen. At this time, Mayor and Council, I would like to introduce to you the Community Development, Catherine Rogers, who have some updates on the landscape as pertains to community development. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. I'm going to talk a little bit about zoning, basically what's occurred and what we've learned as we've moved forward with this endeavor. A little refresher about what was approved in September. This is a chart that indicates the types of land uses that the city has, the state license types that may correspond with those land uses, and then ultimately the zoning districts in which we've placed those. Something to note, for the most part, cannabis retail is allowed anywhere retail is allowed in the city. So that would be all of our commercial zones, and also in our industrial zones if it's associated with a manufacturing facility. This is a chart that I can make available to all of you if you'd like it as a quick sort of reference guide. But ultimately, we're treating it mostly like any other business. Manufacturing is in industrial zones, and retail is in our commercial zones. There's some alternatives outside of what I just showed there. Ultimately, we've got infill development. That's allowed in the core of the city. It does require special approval through Planning and Zoning Commission. We have our cottage industry provisions, which allows people to do something unique in zones that wouldn't otherwise allow industry. There has to be a retail or a service component with that. A really good example or something that's comparable is a microbrewery, if that helps. So you can brew at one location and then you can serve at the same location. We have some overlay zones, of course, in the city. Many of those do contain more generalized zoning. And so as part of the process, we looked closely at those zones to see if there were like uses. So for example, in the North Mesquite, we have a commercial greenhouse allowance. Because of that, we're allowing grow facilities for cannabis. We also have some residential opportunities for cannabis use. Of course, for personal use, if you're not selling it, you can grow 6 mature plants or 12 per household if you have 2 adults in that household. There are also some home occupation provisions that do allow for a limited amount of cannabis businesses. So for example, couriers, the cannabis couriers could utilize a home office and use the home occupation provisions to allow for that. And then we do have the opportunity to allow for micro businesses in the equestrian estates as well as the rural estate and mobile residential districts. And those are only allowed with a special use permit. Some conditions, just to refresh you about what applies to cannabis businesses. All cannabis businesses have to be 300 feet away from a school or daycare. Consumption is limited to indoors only. There's no consumption in C1. That's to align with how we deal with alcohol consumption also in C1. Cannabis retailers and micro businesses, again, must be 300 feet from single-family residential zones and 300 feet from other retailers. And then cannabis micro businesses in the EE and REM zones must be accessory to retail. The primary use has to be a single-family house. And again, there are some limitations in terms of what can occur there. And then you can have some deviations to these buffering requirements, either through the special use permit process or the variance process. Some things that we've observed over time about how this is functioning from a land use standpoint is that we've seen that commercial corridors are often adjacent to single-family residential zones. So what that means is people who want to place their businesses, let's say, on Valley, are really limited in terms of where they can place those because they're going to back up to those single-family residential districts. There, of course, is the solution through a special use permit process. That's a use that might be allowed as long as it's mitigated in terms of potential impacts. What we've observed is that ultimately, as long as people are showing that they can utilize a site just like any other retail establishment and aren't creating additional impacts, which we have not seen, then those special use permits are supported both by staff and Planning and Zoning Commission. So far, one special use permit has been approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have 3 in the queue that will be going in the next couple of months. We also have one variance that was approved. Variances are slightly different. They're numeric deviations from the code. They're a lot harder to support. And those are only required if you're trying to deviate from the distance between a school. And ultimately, there are some specific hardships that have to be outlined in order to support a variance. In this particular instance, this one was downtown. It was near the New Americas School. The Planning and Zoning did determine that it could spur some economic activity. And ultimately, the New Americas School is frankly a special case in terms of the other schools that we find in the city. There are actually quite a few adult-age people that do attend that school. It's in an urban setting, slightly different, but it was supported at Planning and Zoning Commission. Some other things that we've seen is we haven't really seen a proliferation of these uses in one particular location. One of the reasons that we had recommended a buffering distance between retailers was so that we didn't end up with an area where the cannabis retailers were all in one place in the city. We haven't really noticed that at all. So I did want to point that out. Some other things that we've encountered is that people who are interested in micro businesses or small-scale businesses have really requested perhaps some mechanisms or some assistance from the city to expedite those and to make those a reality. They've been asking about incentives for those types of uses. They've been asking about expedited review, broader application of perhaps our zoning provisions, allowing for maybe some exceptions for home occupations for these, and then also have been asking for some maybe reduced code requirements, such as landscaping or parking, things of that nature. Ultimately, to make it less expensive to be able to really start up these mom and pop shops. Some of the other things that we've encountered is a lot of confusion regarding what the rules that the state has and the regulations that the state has versus the city's rules and regulations. And they've really looked to the city to try to help explain that. Another thing that we've encountered, and we see this, frankly, on a weekly basis, is that there's an underestimation of the complexity of the costs of starting a new business. I think a lot of people have jumped into this thinking that this would be sort of an easy and exciting field to get into, not realizing all the small components that really come into play, not just with the city, but with the state as well. We do have some recommendations moving forward, at least from the zoning perspective. So realize Las Cruces, of course, we're rewriting our land development codes, and we're shifting towards more generalized land uses. I'm not sure if any of you have gone through our land use tables to see how many uses are listed, but it is very specific to things. And we're really looking to broaden that and to basically state that retail is retail and manufacturing is manufacturing. And so one of the recommendations moving forward is to really lump cannabis uses into these groups as opposed to having them as a specific use category. So if it's retail, it's retail. Commercial agriculture, for example, instead of cannabis production. But that could apply to tomatoes or cannabis. Some of the other things that we're looking into is perhaps adding operational requirements outside of the zoning code. So this would be similar to alcohol or tobacco or other business types like flea markets, where we do require specific provisions in terms of limiting hours of operations, requiring certain types of signage, et cetera, et cetera. Some of the other things that we've talked about, and we would like some feedback from you perhaps, is either reducing or eliminating some of these buffers that really don't seem to be impacting things in a negative way if those were to be reduced or eliminated. That would be between those single-family residential zones and between retailers. However, we do think it's really important to retain those school distancing requirements. Again, some policy questions that we have for you is, should we look to prioritizing those micro businesses and small-scale cannabis businesses as we move forward with our code rewrite? Some other things to think about is consumption. Should that be retained to indoors only? Should we just monitor those impacts if there are any? Or should we actually include a special use permit provision or other operational conditions that would allow for outdoor consumption areas? Some of the questions that we've gotten from the business is, hey, I'd really like to pair perhaps cannabis products with food, with a dinner service. Is it possible we could do that on a patio? Things of that nature. And so it's just something to bring to your attention. These are the questions we've been receiving. Just want a little feedback on those. And with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Tim Pitts.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. Tim Pitts, Deputy Director of Building and Development for the Community Development Department. So I'll move on to some of the things we're finding in terms of the and I'm sorry, Counselor, you're way over here. I need to turn this way so I can see you too. In terms of the permitting, in terms of the business registrations, in terms of getting businesses going. So just to again go back a step, what's the purpose of the business registration process? Well, for us, for the city of Las Cruces, we use it for multiple purposes. Other jurisdictions might do things a little bit differently, but this is the way we do it. We ensure that the tax and revenue department has correct information so that our taxes, our GRTs, are paid properly to the right location, which is one of the reasons we ask every business to register at its proper place of operation, so that we make sure that the taxes that maybe they're selling here, but they have a business operation in the county, that the county doesn't end up with our taxes. We actually get our taxes. It notifies people that come into a business, and that business registration certificate notifies people that that business is in compliance with the code, and ensures that people know that this is a safe place to go and conduct business. And then we also use this as part of our, in the existing building code, there is a permitting process for changing your use, changing your occupancy, or changing your occupancy class. All of those are kind of big words just to mean, what are you doing in there? How safe is it? What sort of operations should we be expecting you to be doing? So it's the difference between being a mercantile operation, which would be a retail store, or being an office operation, a business operation, which you'd have different expectations. If you're going into a retail store, you have a different expectation of safety. I go into a store, I've been there once, I expect there to be marked exit signs. I expect there to be easy ways for me to get out. If I go to the same office work every day, I know how to get out of that place. And if I'm going into an assembly occupancy, and perhaps I'm doing something like drinking, we want to make sure that people who are impaired are also safely taken care of. So that's the purpose of that. That allows us to make sure that those things are taken care of in the process. In the business registration process, we have 3 inspections. We do the planning inspection. Catherine's already talked to you about our experience with planning. And that is really the zoning issues. Where is this business? Is this a good place for it? Does it fit in with the neighborhood? Does it fit in with the city in that location? Then there is the building, which is, this deals primarily with the structure, the electrical system, the plumbing system, the mechanical system, making sure that those are safe and sustainable. And then we have our fire code, which really deals with how the operation in the business, how does that operate when it's there? Are they taking care of the customers? Are they making sure they're not putting things in the way of exit routes? And are they making sure they're not stacking their stuff too high so it causes some problems with fire, with potential for fire damage? So those are really the 3. That's how we look at them. We generally do them in that order. We look at the planning first before they ever do anything. And then when they finish building their building or making their changes, we go in and look at the building. And then the last one to go in is fire, and they make sure that they're ready to open that day. For cannabis businesses, from my perspective, from the business building safety perspective, this is no different than any other business. The only exception is that we verify their status with the Cannabis Control Division before we issue a registration. I don't see a cannabis business any different than I do any other type of retail business. It's a legal action as long as they're handling it legally. We have spent an awful lot of time between the building department and the fire department have spent an awful lot of time attending training. So I would say we might be the most highly trained cannabis staff in the state of New Mexico with how many hours we've been to things. And that includes our firefighters. The fire marshal's office has sent many people. And we use the book appearing there to the side, the applying the codes to cannabis facilities to apply. I would say we're further along. We know everything in there. We're learning new things now. We're learning new processes. I say to a lot of people, I'm probably the squarest guy that knows exactly how to get cannabis oil out of a plant. All right, and then probably the most interesting thing that we have done is we do this weekly cannabis business pre-application meeting. And I copy that right off the flyer, so I know that's what it's called. Seems an awful long. We need to shorten it just to do something with it. But in any event, we meet every Wednesday at 2:30. What we found is that we get lots of questions. And people would come in asking questions, and they would overwhelm all of our meetings. So we decided, let's get them all into one day at one time. And they come out, and what we usually find is that people get their questions answered by the previous person because they all have the same questions. And as Catherine mentioned to you, their biggest questions are not have anything to do with cannabis. They're how do I make my building code compliant? How do I start a business? Should I hire an accountant? Just very basic business questions. And really, that's what a lot of them need is business help, not so much our help. But we've learned a few things from this, a few things that came out of what we've found. For a lot of people, and again, I don't think this is cannabis specific, knowing whether a permit's required is the biggest question that we have. And convincing some people that a building permit is required is sometimes a difficult thing. But I will say this has been no more difficult of an experience than it is with anyone else. So, but I think that a lot of the people, well, there's 2 groups, I would say. There's a group that came into this looking as this as a good business opportunity that maybe had business experience. And then we have the ones that maybe were doing this, let's just say, not fully legally, and now are looking to open a legal business, and they sometimes are not ready for the level of interest we're going to pay in their business. We go into a business and we take. Excuse me. We take a look at it and we say, "Oh, you better do this. You need to do that." The big things that we find when we go in there, and a lot of these we find really when the fire inspector gets in that door and he says, "Oh my gosh, your path of egress. That means how do you get out of here in case of a fire? You don't have a good way of getting out." And so we ask for some type of correction for that. State requirements for security have caused some very serious problems for us when we get in there. So the state requires there to be a secure area. Well, when there's a secure area and a firefighter is responding to a fire, how do they get to the secure area? Well, that's one of the things we have asked for. Fire Marshal has asked for the Knox box. I don't know if you're familiar with these, but this is a national company that provides for business owners a box that the firefighters can get to, and only the firefighters have keys to it. So in case of a fire, firefighters show up, open the lockbox, they've got keys to everything in the room. They don't have to go down, knock down doors, knock out windows. They can open doors. And hopefully will save people a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money. So we're requiring that on everybody because every cannabis business has to have a secure area. The other thing that we found was with the exiting doors, you can't keep people in a facility, right? Now, there were some people who were trying using these electronic doors where you have to click it to open it. Well, that doesn't work in case of an emergency. You have to be able to get out. So we have had them replace some of their exiting doors to fix that. As I say, probably not any more difficult of an experience than it is with any general business. We've had issues with electrical and plumbing retrofits. I think a lot of people are surprised at the difference between a commercial electrical job and a residential electrical job, or a commercial plumbing job and a residential plumbing job. And the residential stuff just doesn't cut it when you're starting to deal when you have a commercial enterprise. And the costs are higher, the material you're getting is a higher quality. It's a big difference, and that's been a hard thing for a lot of people to understand. You can't do it yourself. You need an electrician. You can't just put your sweat equity in and put in your own electrical system. It's going to blow out with those electric lights they're putting in and so on. Bathrooms have been an issue, always an issue in every business. And then, as I say, understanding the scope of the business and the safety risks for people to understand what is it that's at risk when they're there. And so it's been explaining those things. But I think that Wednesday afternoon group, we have people who show up now, I think maybe just to see my stand-up routine. I don't know why, they just keep coming. But they have a little bit of camaraderie between the people that come. And we have a pretty good time. There's always someone new. As I say, 5 to 7 people probably every week. And people have learned how to, they know a lot better. And so I think that's been a very successful meeting. Just to give you some indication, it's a little bit of a busy map. This is something that's available on our website if anybody's interested in looking on the cannabis page. The orange and green ones are businesses that have applied with us for a business registration or a building permit for a cannabis business. The red ones are ones that have applied with the state. Usually there should be 2 in every location, but you'll notice there's a lot of red. These are people who have not yet begun their process. So this is something we're going to do. The red ones with the little exclamation marks in them, they're in draft status. So I don't necessarily expect that they would have applied with us yet. So there are a few of those. There's probably about 10 to 15 people who are in some state status with the state that have not been discussed with us or have begun a permit process or a business registration process with us. But for the most part, we have seen or heard from most of these people. And I made this on Friday. It's already out of date, but as of Friday, we had We had 13 people who had applied for a production license with us. 2 of those were issued. We have 4 micro businesses. We have 1 person saying he's doing manufacturing, though I don't know what that means, because it doesn't have a definition in the cannabis industry, so I think I know what he means. We did have 1 courier get issued his business registration. We had 3 people come in and do medical sales. 2 of those have been issued. The 3rd one, we're waiting on a building permit. So we expect him to get that issued before Friday. We had 18 recreational sales applied for. 2 of those have been issued. So, and actually the numbers are slightly different today. We have 5. So we have 1 more registered for retail as of today. And we have 3 that we expect to have registered by Friday, issued by Friday. Just for the state, we did take a look at the state, what there are. They have 72 applicants within the city of Las Cruces. Only 3 producers have been approved and 1 retailer has been approved. So, but keeping in mind the medical people are in a different circumstance, we do anticipate there were about 12 medical distributors, and we expect all of them to be also providing recreational. And they don't necessarily need to go through us unless they're going to do a building permit, because they're a separate process. And I think, yeah, that's it for me. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pitts.
Can we ask questions?
Oh, you have a question, Dr. Pitts? Okay, yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and do
Did you call
that.
me Vasquez?
Did I call Vasquez?
I thought you called me Vasquez.
No, I was calling Dr. Pitts,
Oh, Dr. Pitts.
Dr. Tim Pitts.
Dr. Pitts. Thank you, Dr. Pitts, and thank you, Catherine, Ms. Harrison, Rogers Harrison. So I have, and I also have a question for you, Connie Tamalpeo, Assistant City Manager. So, but I think that what I gleaned or heard from all of this is that the cannabis industry is being treated very much like the liquor licensing, the businesses, not the licensing part, but in terms of the zoning, in terms of the distances from schools and this, that, and the other. Am I correct in that, or am I already wrong?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Flores, I'm going to allow
Catherine.
Ms. Rogers.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Flores, yes, it's correct. We're treating them similar to alcohol. And as we move forward with the Realize Las Cruces project, we'd like to make that even in more alignment in terms of at least eliminating or diminishing some of the buffering distances that exist between the single-family residential zones and other retailers, because currently alcohol does not have those distancing requirements, only from the schools. That's the area where you will find similar buffering distances, is with the school distancing.
Okay, and can you define consumption for me?
Consumption is any intake of a cannabis product that has THCs, whether it be smoking, vaping, eating, creams, any other method.
So, okay. So is it being regulated in terms of public consumption, the way liquor is, like no drinking in public and that sort of stuff? And it seems to me that it does make sense in a way, but in a way it doesn't make sense. And when there are some products that are not going to be visibly, I mean, there's just so many uses for cannabis, a lot of medical uses. And if there's going to be a manufacturing of, say, because I know that creams are very medicinal and very healing, and oils and that sort of stuff. So how would you keep someone from using that in public? What if they're sunbathing out in the plaza and they take out their little cannabis? What do you do then?
Councilor Flores, members of City Council, I'm actually going to refer to our police department. Curie Danes is here,
Ooh.
and that's actually, she has a slide to speak specifically about public consumption.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Ms. Rogers. Thank you.
Mayor, Councilor Flores, Deputy Chief Danes. Councilor, I don't know if you'd like me to address that when we get to the slide, or I can do it now, whichever you prefer.
We can wait till we get to the slide, Deputy Chief Danes. Thank you.
Ma'am. I think it'll flow better that way.
Okay, thank you. So for you, Mr. Ikani, Mr. Tamopeo, my question for you is, you indicated that there's checkpoints, and then the other big question in my mind is shortages are anticipated already. I mean, we already have that with coffee, we have it with flour, we have it with, why is cannabis going to be, how can you anticipate a shortage since we really don't have that market? Or did I misunderstand? I'm sorry.
That was so that you as council are not surprised when there are shortages, just further expectations. That's normally what happens in other states that have seen this. And from talking to those in the industry, that's what I'm just reporting back.
Perdón. Okay, I understand.
Thank you.
So they're anticipating shortages, so it means it's going to get really expensive. So if you do that, then the NYSE is going to step in, and then they're going to say, okay, instead of $25 a lid or whatever it sells for these days, I don't know. So that just seems kind of odd to me, and it's almost like scaring people into hoarding. Let's go out and buy a bunch. Anyway, but you really don't have an answer for that. You're just reporting. Okay, the other question to Mr. Tamopeo is checkpoints. What are we going to do about checkpoints, or what's that all about? I mean, how are we going to get our testing up and down the state? There's another checkpoint that went up when I drove out to Roswell the other day. That one had never been up, and it's been up probably a while. But there's a checkpoint at Roswell, and then the one going to Deming, and then the one going to up north. So what are we going to do with that?
Yeah, good. Councilor Flores, what's happening right now is when couriers are currently moving to the 2 testing facilities up north, they're passing in unmarked cars, and if they're stopped, they identify. But right now they're going through as if, and they're not being stopped. If they are stopped and they're caught, then that's when the federal guards have the opportunity to take the samples away. So what the industry says is that they just go back and get another sample and try again.
Oh, wow. So is there going to be any coordination between, would that be something that the state would be doing, the state of New Mexico, we have to address that issue. We just can't have people going,
That's a great.
Or why don't we bring that industry down here?
So the testing,
why don't we just have our own testing?
Great question. The testing facility is planned. They're talking right now, looking at locations. There was a facility here before, and they left up north, and so they're looking to open a satellite facility here by late summer. So we should be seeing it in a few months.
So there's something in the behind the scenes going on, I hope?
Yes,
Oh, good,
there
okay.
is.
Because everything's behind the scenes for us up here. Always, it's all this big mystery. So, all right. Oh, and then I do have a question for Dr. Pitts. Thank you very much, Mr. Ikani. Mr. Tamopeo. Dr. Pitts, the permits that are issued, you say there are state permits and then there are city permits. Are they in any way coordinated so that there's an efficiency in the timing from the time the owner of the business begins and by the time the business, is it streamlined?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Flores, Tim Pitts again. No, and it's not because the The state licensing has changed, I would say, every month since this started. They continue to, hopefully for the good. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying that every month they learn something new. And
The baby doesn't like what you're saying either.
Well, I understand. Maybe we should get some. I'm sorry. I'll take that back. Yeah, it just they're figuring themselves out, and they're figuring out how to get the licenses issued. When we discussed this with them very, very early on, and they started talking to their software vendor. They were using Salesforce. I immediately called up Salesforce. I said, "What are you doing? What can we do? Can we work with you?" And they said, "Well, we're working on that. We don't have time to talk to you about it." So we just said, "Well, we got to do our own thing. We got to be ready." The last thing I want is to be the one holding up the business, and we are not. We are not. People who are ready to open on Friday will be open on Friday. They will not be held up because of us. But I can't say that the state will be that far. But I told Councilor Gondra, whatever it was 6 months ago, we would not be the reason they couldn't open. And we vowed not to be the reason they wouldn't be open. If we were to make it work together with theirs, we'd still be testing software.
So Dr. Pitts, are you saying that they're not really cooperating with coordinating this or streamlining it? Is that pretty much the upshot?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Flores.
Call a spade a spade.
I wouldn't say that. I would say we are cooperating to the extent we can, given the changing nature of the state rules. I mean, when the state passed the ordinance or passed the statute, there were no rules for this. So the state has been doing rulemaking for the past year, and every time they get a rule that they think works, they find out it doesn't work, and they have to rewrite it. And then they get that submitted, and they get that adopted, and then the actual implementation of the rule, oh, well, we can't really do that. And so in some ways, and I'll just give you a couple examples of things that I think have been very, very positive. Early on, when the state did medical marijuana, they spent an inordinate amount of time worried about where these businesses were located. And they would have people have to go out and get surveys done and have surveyors measure distances to things and so on. Somewhere around February or so, or January or so, they just decided, hey, let's leave that up to the local jurisdictions. And of course, my answer is yes, we are better at that than you are. So let us do it. And I sent that as a recommendation to the CCD early on, that let the local municipalities help you with the things that we're good at. And so I don't know whether they ever read my thing or not, but in any event, they're doing that. And so I think that was a very positive change. Had we waited until the software worked where it could get, as I say, we'd still be waiting. We'd still be waiting on the software engineer to write the code that allows our inspector to enter something into their system. So I think that we should keep that in mind. And I don't see anything wrong with what the state's done. I credit them for what the hard work. I mean, it's hard what they were asked to do, and I think they did a good job. But I think we did a really good job. And
Oh, without a doubt, you've done an excellent job, without a doubt. I'm just concerned about a business being held up, and just wanted to know whether there was any coordination with the state, but you've explained it beautifully, and I thank you very much, Dr. Pitts. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff. I just want to remind folks, and kudos to council, we have one of the most progressive ordinances across the state. We get lots of positive remarks because of it, and I think we're going to be better suited for it and ready to go on Friday. I do want to just say before I start asking questions, welcome baby McConnell Fox. I haven't seen her in person, and she's beautiful. I'm sure her mama is teaching her all about social justice. I love it. Thank you for being here. She shook her head? Yeah. So slide 14 and 15, sorry, I know you were way ahead of the I'm really interested in this slide, and this is one of the least, I'm not as familiar with Realize, but I know in terms of zoning and such, when you talk about the requirements similar to alcohol, tobacco, and then other business types, I'm not super familiar with it, Catherine, and so you're asking us to eliminate the buffers from the SFR zones and between retailers. Can you explain a little further what that means?
Sure, I would love to, Mayor Pro Tem, members of City Council. So what we've seen, and some of the concerns about why the buffers were created to begin with, was really to offset any potential impacts to either those low-density single-family neighborhoods, and also to minimize the potential to have a concentrated area where all the cannabis businesses are located. And what we've seen thus far is there are no impacts in terms of what would be beyond the normal retail establishment against these single-family residential zones. And then, two, we haven't seen that there's a proliferation of one location in the city where all of these businesses have decided to locate. And because of that, one of the recommendations moving forward, and mind you, this is something that we can monitor over time, is that perhaps we either minimize those buffers or eliminate them. Because ultimately what we've seen is they're not really needed, at least at this point in time. Mind you, time will tell. So over the next year, we may experience something a little bit different, but right now we're not seeing any significant impacts because of those. Now, retaining the school distancing, I do think, is important. That's consistent with what we have with alcohol. Mm-hmm. And of course, studies show that these types of uses should be removed from being next door to an educational facility.
Yeah, no, I agree to that. Agree with that. Mm-hmm. So specific to the variants that were given related to New Mexico, to New Americas, I did hear some negative connotation to that, specific from the guard there, via the principal. And so help me explain, because obviously we don't attend those planning and zoning committee meetings or board meetings, and just sort of give me in context what were the thoughts about going ahead, and sort of very specifically, there are more adult, I think, students, if you will, but there are still, I think, some underage individuals, and then specific to the business that will be there. I don't know what it is per se. If you can give us a little more detail, that would be helpful for me.
Absolutely. So the business in particular is located right along Church and Main, so adjacent to the plaza. Yes. Which is also very close to a lot of the local breweries and other similar types of uses. They happen to be I want to say it's 192 feet, don't quote me on that, but a little shy of 200 feet away from the boundary of the school. Variances have really strict criteria by which we determine whether or not they are appropriate. One can be a physical hardship on the property. Another can be monetary considerations in terms of trying to establish something that would normally be allowed by code but could be too expensive otherwise. And the other one is economic development. This particular structure had been used as a church for a very, very long time, has not been put into any sort of productive tax use, if you will. I mean, churches are very productive in their own right, but not from a tax-based standpoint. And this was a type of facility that really did have some limited uses. They're compounding, doing some minor compounding on site. Their focus is health, primarily, and also job training. And so those were all of the things they espoused, and upon review, Planning and Zoning Commission felt that it was an appropriate location, especially just knowing the tenor of what occurs in that area in terms of entertainment, the other types of uses, restaurants, bars, things of that nature nearby, and that ultimately the student body, while there are some minors, does have a lot of older students as well that are adults And so that's why they made that decision.
Yeah. When you say health, is that medical?
Some of it was medical, yes, mental health, wellness, things of that nature.
Yeah, okay. Oh, it's the meeting we had been in early on. Yes, yes, okay. That's very helpful, Catherine. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And let's see. Then you had talked about some pending variances for approval. Now, do they have sort of the same, similar types of things that are going on there as well?
That is correct. So something to remember is that special use permits are uses that are allowed in a location that may just need to be mitigated in terms of impacts. They're much easier in terms of being able to recommend approval on. And those are specific to distancing between retailers and then distancing between single-family residential zones. The only time you're going to see the variance related to cannabis is that distancing between schools. The only other variance, so one of the other variances that's come on board, interestingly enough, is they're requiring variance because a very small portion of the property is leased out for a daycare, but it is 1,000 feet actually away from the operation. But when we look at a property for a school or a daycare, we consider the whole property to be part of that educational facility. In terms of this variance that is coming fast approaching us, they were really in an unfortunate position because the property owner only leased out this itty-bitty little corner. The rest of it remains vacant, but the way we've interpreted it, we look at the whole property. And so that's a unique situation. That one in particular is on Missouri and Don Rozier, essentially.
Yes, okay, no, that's very helpful, thank you. I think those are all my questions for now, Mayor. I just wanted to say, really how proud I am being a part of this council and having such a progressive, look at this. I hear often from many municipalities and folks how progressive and people are looking and watching to see what we do next, if you will. And I know that couldn't have been done without our leadership, so thank you, Connie, Mr. Peely, Mr. Enriquez, and our staff. Thank you, you've been so helpful. There have been people who have called, and I've passed them on to you, and you've been fabulous, so appreciate you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
So good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So with the legalization of recreational cannabis, the state of New Mexico imposed an excise tax. So just some notes on that. The tax is only imposed on the cannabis retailer, so that does not apply to cultivators or manufacturers. Also, this does not apply to medical cannabis in accordance with the Lynn and Aaron Compassionate Use Act. Our distribution at the municipality for the city of Las Cruces will be a third, about 33.33%. And also, the state of New Mexico will assess a 3% administrative fee for reasonable cost for distributing these funds. So as you can see in our table below, starting all the way through 2024, excise tax will be at 12%. And starting in 2015, that rate will increase 1% a year all the way through 2030, which we will be at 18%. And just to give you a look at the progression on this, here's a chart, and you can see the blue portion is the municipal distribution at a third, and the green portion is the state. So we'll start out at about 4%, and by 2030, we should be about 6%. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Economic Development, Dr. Monica Torres.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of City Council. My name is Monica Torres, and I'm the City Economist with the Economic Development Department.
Excuse me, Dr. Torres, we're going to need you to speak up a little bit. I know you're trying, but directly in that mic, please, because they're not catching it on the recording.
Okay. Is that better?
Maybe raise the podium just a little. Dr. Torres, it's there to the side, to your right, a button there.
Raise it or lower it?
Raise maybe to help her closer in. Yeah,
Okay.
there we go.
Okay. I'm going to be presenting a model on potential revenue from recreational cannabis. This slide here presents just a little bit of background information and the information that Dr. Pitts already presented on the different type of licenses and the status. For our model, we use data on medical licenses for the state starting in 2012, for out-of-state starting 2019, and our model is for starting April 2022. This chart presents the evolution of medical licenses in Doña Ana County for the last 9 years. The most common qualifying condition for a medical license in the state was, on 2021, was PTSD. In 2021, there were an average of 10,000 licenses for Doña Ana County, and about an average of 650 licenses out of state. Our model is based on potential demand. Since there's not much available data yet, we work with a number of assumptions. We work on assumptions on how our population that is 21 years and over is going to be growing over the next years. We only included population from local population, Las Cruces. Out of state, we included El Paso, Socorro, and Clean. We didn't take into account any population from Mexico or other parts from Texas. We also work with assumptions on how our medical marijuana is going to be, the number of licenses is going to be changing over the years. And on the consumption part, we had to work with assumptions on the amount people consume, the frequency they consume, prices, how this consumption is going to change over the years, what kind of product they're going to be buying. We didn't take into account any indirect revenue from hotels or restaurants, for example, and we didn't take into account any potential supply shocks. So this image here presents an overview from our model. We have a local population. So we estimated our population that is 21 years and over that do not have a medical license. And using data from the National Survey on Drug Use and Health, which presents data on past month cannabis users for the state of New Mexico, we use half of this percentage to estimate our potential population. So we have a potential population that is 21 years and over, do not have a medical cannabis license, has potentially consumed cannabis, and we took into account 2% of people that might grow their own product to arrive to a potential consumer population. These consumers have different tastes. There's a wide range of products in the market, quality, prices. So we didn't take into account all the possible products available. We estimated possible consumption for edibles, topicals, and people that will smoke cannabis. According to some researchers, 80% of my cannabis consumers will smoke it, 25% will consume topicals, and about 55% will consume edibles. For each type of consumer, we estimated a frequency of use, a price, and an amount of use to arrive to a potential recreational sale. For example, for a consumer that will smoke it, we have a wide range of consumers. We have our light smoker that smokes less than 1 day per month, and we have our heavy smoker that will smoke almost daily. So in this manner, we arrive to a potential recreational sale local. We follow a similar pattern for out-of-state consumers. As I said before, we only use population from El Paso, Socorro, and Clean, no medical licenses, 21 years and over, that has half of the percentage that has consumed marijuana in the last month, according to the survey. And we only took into account 10% of this potential population, assuming that the 90% will consume from Santa Teresa, Santa Park, Anthony, or Chaparral. We follow the same procedure as for local population to arrive to a potential recreational sale. From a potential recreational sale, we kept 1/3 of the excise tax plus 3.16% from the ERT portion to arrive to a potential revenue, which is presented in the chart there. The numbers are in millions. And for the first couple For fiscal year 2022, we have an average of 0.19 millions, which will be increasing. These are my references, and I'm gonna pass it to Ms. Irene Parra. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Councilors. My name is Irene Parra. I'm the Interim Business Development Administrator with Economic Development, and I'm going to be discussing some outreach that our department has been doing, as well as some allocations of revenue by other states. Economic Development has worked in collaboration with state, county, and city departments and agencies to conduct the following outreach. First, we are collaborating with the Community Development Department in weekly pre-application sessions. I can say that we have received very positive feedback from those seeking one-on-one assistance with the application process and identifying the proper permits and licenses needed for their individual business. As Mr. Pitts mentioned earlier, some of the questions that we are getting in particular have to do with funding. Because this is still considered a Schedule I substance, they are very limited, new entrepreneurs, in accessing funding to start their businesses. Last spring, the House passed the Safe Banking Act, which would allow federal banking institutions to do business with cannabis industries, including providing loans. However, it's been sitting in the Senate, and so we're awaiting approval by them. I can say, though, that in the interim, New Mexico has recognized this as a barrier, and last November 30th, the New Mexico Finance Authority approved a $5 million program to offer cannabis microbusiness loans. They will be providing loans up to $250,000 with interest rates ranging from 2 to 3% depending on the loan. The loans are aimed at capital initiatives, including the purchase, rental, or creation of buildings and greenhouses, lighting, security, and irrigation systems, and payments for utilities and marketing efforts. The loan will be targeted at rural and impoverished communities, as well as minority business owners. We also continue to provide one-on-one business consultation. We do work with our partner agencies and have resources available for those that are interested in learning how to write a business plan, to do business and employment recruitment, and so we do have those services available that we provide to them. We also help to maintain the city's cannabis information webpage in collaboration with the Community Development Department, and most recently hosted a 2-day cannabis seminar on January 5th and 6th. The first day focused on state agencies and updates, and the second focused on city and county updates and information. The attendance for the event ranged from 90 to 100 virtual participants and 80 to 90 in-person attendees. We will continue to work with businesses to identify any existing challenges and changes as the cannabis industry matures and evolves. In addition to examining projected revenues, Economic Development has also been researching how other states are allocating revenue generated by cannabis, and also to identify possible programming and support for businesses. As you can see, California first issues revenue that covers regulatory and research costs, and then 60% goes to anti-drug programs targeting kids, 20 goes to environmental programs, and additional 20 goes to public safety. Colorado allocates 10% to local governments and 90% to the state government, and of that 90%, 16% of the state revenue goes to the general fund, 13 goes to state public school fund, and 72 goes to the marijuana tax cash fund. In 2014, the Colorado State Legislature created the marijuana tax cash fund to collect sales tax revenue from retail and medical marijuana. Revenue from the marijuana tax cash fund must be spent the following year on healthcare, monitoring marijuana health effects, health education, substance abuse prevention and treatment programs, and law enforcement. Illinois allocates 35% to the general fund and 25% to the Illinois Recover, Reinvest, and Renew program. The Restore, Reinvest, and Renew program, otherwise known as the R3 grant, funds programs in Illinois communities that have been harmed by violence, excessive incarceration, and economic disinvestment. The R3 grant funds programs in 5 key areas: civil legal aid, economic development, re-entry, violence prevention, and youth development. The communities that are eligible for R3 funding were identified in part by their rates of gun injuries, child poverty, unemployment, and incarceration. Additional allocations include 20% to mental health and substance abuse, 10% to pay state bills, 8% to local government, and 2% to public education. Oregon allocates 40% to the state school fund, 20% to mental health, alcoholism, and drug services, 15% to the Oregon State Police, 5% to the Oregon Health Authority for Drug Treatment and Prevention, and 20% to cities and counties. Maine allocates 6% to adult use marijuana public health, 6% to safety fund, and 88% to the general fund. And finally, Alaska allocates 25% to their general fund, 50% to the Department of Public Safety, Health, Social Services, and Department of Corrections, and 25% to the Marijuana Education Fund. Further research will focus on how municipalities are allocating revenue. And that is all that I have.
Okay, thank you.
And I will pass it on to Public Safety.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, Deputy Chief Daines. Before I start, I want to say that since 2018, marijuana has been decriminalized.
DC Daines, I'm sorry, you're going to have to talk right into the mic.
I feel like I'm turning my back over here.
I hear you.
Since 2018, marijuana has been decriminalized, so for our day-to-day stuff has not changed since 2018. Okay, so really what I'm going to do here is, especially during those outreach that we did in January, what we really wanted to do was just remind the public of what is still illegal. Okay, so any possession on school property or daycare center is a misdemeanor, no matter the age of the offender. Obviously, we don't want it in schools in our daycare. Okay, possession in public of more from 2 to 8 ounces is a misdemeanor. Now, in public, okay, so we have to actually see it. And over 8 ounces is a felony. That has not changed, okay? Underage possession between 18 and 20 years old, that's more of a civil penalty, okay? However, selling to minors under the age of 18 is still contributing to the delinquency of a minor. That is still a felony. The thing that we would be most concerned about from public safety is making sure that everybody understands that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal, just like alcohol. So that's really essentially has been our concern since 2018. So nothing is essentially changed. Just reminding folks, please don't give it to kids. Please don't have it in areas where there will be children. And please do not drive under the influence of any kind of marijuana, no matter how you ingest it. So that's really where we're at there. In our, what we did, especially, we had a lot of the business owners asking us a lot of questions regarding safety, and we tried to do our best to educate them. First thing we did was you need to follow the state regulations, and like Mr. Pitts was talking about with security, Knox boxes, things of that nature, and all our state and local licensing requirements. We did remind the business owners, and we will do that at any time if they wish to come to us, and I know during the meetings they also remind the folks about their physical security. Cameras, lighting, storage, the procedures they have on how they're going to distribute their product. We also reminded the business owners regarding their employees, how to safeguard, how they're going to address theft, internal theft, embezzlement, maybe side sells. For example, like, hey, we're selling it for $15 a whatever, but I'll give it to you for 10. So how are you going to making sure you understand your employees. We can't govern that, but just letting the business owners know that, to be aware that those things may occur, just like any other business. Okay, so that's really where we were there. Councilor Flores, to address your initial question, you're talking about topicals and things of that nature. It has been decriminalized since 2018, so I would have make an assumption that if we were to make contact with anybody who's using any kind of cannabis, more than likely it's going to be because we got a complaint of we can smell this in the air, like in a public area. But however, that's still against the law because it follows the Clean Air Act. So we're not going to be walking up to people saying, let me see your cream or anything like that. Okay, that smells great. Nothing like that, Counselor, so I don't think you have to worry about it. We've been dealing with edibles, the medical stuff since 2018, and we haven't had any issues there. So I want to assure you that it's probably not going to be a problem. I stand for any other questions.
Okay. Doesn't look like. Thanks.
Hello, Robert Cabello. I want to talk about the Clean Indoor Air Act, both the city version and the state version. And going some background information, of course, under the Clean Indoor Air Act, the D. Johnson Clean Indoor Air Act with the state, the city is required to make its own ordinance, but it's required to make its own ordinance inclusive of all the minimum standards and provisions for smoke-free areas, and also regarding the smoke-permitted areas. In this 2019, the New Mexico legislature made some changes, and some of those changes were, of course, including the inclusion of different provisions for adding vaping into the Clean Indoor Air Act. And then 2021, last year, actually on March 31st, the Mexico legislature passed the Cannabis Regulation Act. Now, the city's Clean Indoor Act, we originally had a version, our own Clean Indoor Air Act in 1995. Again, we passed some provisions to prohibit vaping products and to be consistent with state law. And again, in December of last year, Ordinance 2989, we actually made our ordinance, the Clean Indoor Air Act, consistent with the actual provisions for the Cannabis Regulatory Act. Now, under 2989 ordinance, it permitted cannabis uses, the Cannabis Regulation Act. And what that meant really is that, of course, now people could use that in their residence. People in the cannabis consumption areas, which is defined by the Cannabis Regulation Act, as areas where cannabis is served and consumed. And essentially, those are allowed. I'm going to be a little more specific on the next slide, so bear with me. The city, of course, prohibits the recreational cannabis consumption outdoors. That's consistent with our the 2986 ordinance, which was, of course, the zoning regulations that we had passed. Now, we have a little table here. And this table, it just gives you the sort of visual form of what the different sort of places where people can smoke and consume. So under residence, you can smoke in your residence. Now outdoors, there's sort of a limitations. What that really means is, does the outdoor area have access to the public? That's where, because under Section 26 of the Cannabis Regulation Act, public smoking of cannabis is prohibited. It's a $50 penalty. It's not a crime, it's a civil penalty, but it is a crime. So if you're in your front yard, it's not an area where you can be smoking. That's still part of your residence, but that's not a place where you can be smoking. Now, if it's in your backyard, I would suggest an area that's probably closed off to the public, maybe other people can't see, probably best. Retail tobacco. So under there, cannabis smoking outdoors is prohibited. Of course, under the retail tobacco production, where they sell tobacco, it has to be a standalone building. Cigar bars, again, have to be also a standalone building. Outdoor cannabis is prohibited in the city. It's tobacco manufacturing, assuming that people allowed it. I guess the owner allowed it, you could actually have it there. Gaming, casinos, and bingo parlors. Designated outdoor areas. Now, what's important here, a designated outdoor area is a place where an employer allows people to smoke. Cannabis consumption outdoors is prohibited. So you can still have an outdoor area for smoking tobacco, as long as it's not, again, someplace where the public has access to. So if you have a business, you wouldn't have it on your sales floor. You wouldn't have it in a place where the entrance or egress of a place, but you'd have it in a place that would be closed off. Again, that's just tobacco smoke. Similar for private clubs, hotel, motel rooms. So the 10% capacity of a room. So basically, if a hotel, motel can have 10% of the rooms for smoking. Now, this is in the residence part of those rooms. So the sort of the common areas, you can't be smoking cannabis in the common areas where they have, you go pick up your ice or in the lobby. Certainly there's cannabis smoking is allowed for native ceremonies, theatrical productions, movie theaters, that sort of movie productions and theater productions. And consumption areas, again, only consumption areas are allowed are indoors. So patios, outdoor patios, you can't have that consumption of cannabis outdoors. Under this will open up with questions now.
Yes, Councilor Coran.
I just had a couple, I'm not sure if you're opening it up for questions for the whole thing, and one of my questions is somewhat germane to you and somewhat germane to the prior thing, so.
I think this is the last section,
Okay,
so
I guess
it could be
that's what I
up
was
to this
wondering.
section or anybody
Okay.
else.
I had a couple of questions that are related to your thing. So if, for instance, on the idea of patio use, if we were to relax in our zoning conversation that we're going to have, if we were to do something like make it easier for businesses to have a patio where people could use this, we would also have to correspondingly address the Clean Air Act related to that, and then it would have to be in line with that, I would assume.
Mayor, Councilor Coran, it is correct. We would have to change the rules that we made in Ordinance 2986, which was the ordinance section for zoning. We have to make some changes there because that's where we kind of really forbade sort of outdoor consumption for retail areas. As far as the Clean Indoor Air Act, we made ours more strict as far to both comply with the state, but we can do that because the state allows us to do it. It doesn't preempt us from being more strict. And the only reason we went more strict is because we had already passed that zoning ordinance.
Thank you, that helps. And then I have another follow-up question, but I'll let my colleagues go first.
And Mayor, Councilor Coran, of course, we can make a change. It can be done.
No, thank you. That's what I just wanted to think about. If we did have a different conversation about zoning, to make sure that we did all the subsequent, made sure that we followed up in the subsequent places where we might have inconsistencies, and if we, in that process, just make sure that we think about it really critically. So, thank you.
Councilor Beta.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is, I'll direct it to Mr. Tomapiao first. But as we've heard from the different departments about the time that it's taking for training and staff, I'm just curious if we've developed what that overall cost has looked like for getting everybody set up for this process, and then what the cost will be within the city for that staffing and training and education in subsequent years, because as we're looking at the economic development and potential revenue, I would like to see how that compares and balances, and to kind of take a full look of what our actual revenue would be after those costs.
Thank you, Councilor Abeta. Just to clarify, are you talking about the cost that it's taken our staff to prepare the systems that we've discussed?
Yes, and then I'm assuming there's probably training fees and continuing education fees.
Okay. Are you asking, because I think I know where you're going with this, because if the revenue is coming from the excise tax is there, then is it for the supporting services of that industry it takes for our staff to manage that? Would that include also public safety? Is that where you're going with that as well?
Yeah,
and the
that would
security
be
increases?
as well. Yeah, I think
Okay.
all the departments.
Great question. We don't have that number at this time, but that is definitely something where we can get with time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Ikani. So we'll just open it up if there's any other questions that you heard from the presenters.
I did have one other follow-up question, I think, related to zoning specifically and the single family restriction. So I think it might be related to that, the home restriction. You're sort of asking if we might consider a policy that changes, that loosens that particular regulation, or as part of Realize. I'm not sure about the timing of all this, if we need to do it sooner than Realize might go into play, but the proposal would be to eliminate the single-family home restriction, the 300-foot rule related to that, and I wonder, for regular commercial zoning, does that rule apply, or was that a particular cannabis-related rule that we created?
That's a really good question, members of City Council, Councilor Coran. No, it doesn't apply to any other business. I think part of the concern was to make sure that if there were any impacts, it wouldn't impact any of those areas. At this point in time, nothing has indicated that there are going to be any additional impacts other than what you would normally find in these commercial zones.
Okay, thank you so much. That was my only other question.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there any members of the public who has any questions?
Mayor?
Oh, yes, Councilor Bencomo.
Thank you.
You need to get a bobblehead so that when you're out of town, I'm standing right here, and I can remind myself that you're...
I love that. I'll be sure to get you one soon.
I'm going to get you one for Christmas.
That could be great. Catherine, I have a couple of questions for you, and then I just have a couple comments to make. I'm fully supportive of the staff recommendations you've made in terms of the buffer zones and the data that's been behind getting to this point. I'm curious if you have a timeline suggestion, given what Councilor Corran just said in terms of Realize won't go into effect probably until late next year. So are you recommending that we stay in line with that process, or that we make these changes sooner?
That's a very good question, Councilor Bencomo, members of City Council. I think at this point in time, I would like to see that we incorporate this into Realize Las Cruces, unless there is some sort of urgent need to modify it sooner. But that's something that we can monitor, and if we do notice that there is some urgent need to modify it, we could expedite an ordinance change outside of Realize Las Cruces.
That's helpful. Yeah, perhaps, really monitoring staff capacity and those special use permits. I know they're not always super easy, right, to go over and to make those decisions. So if it's taking a lot of staff time, I think that's when it perhaps could come to council sooner than the Realize timeline. And then I would also like to see us prioritize, in economic development, that micro business and small scale business moving forward. Have you heard of any recommendations from the industry, from the public, as to what that could look like?
That's a really good question, and it is a multifaceted issue. It's not just zoning, but it's also economic development and some of the other departments. From a zoning perspective, I actually do think that we have a lot of the components in place to make it easier for folks just in our existing codes. But I may turn it over to Irene or some of the other folks with economic development to see perhaps if they've heard from the industry if there's anything that would help. Irene?
So as I mentioned, I'm sorry, Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, as I mentioned in our presentation, we are continuing to provide one-on-one consultation, but we are in discussions right now also with our business partners to see about creating programming specific for the cannabis business. There are some unique challenges that they are facing with regard to funding, with regard to marketing and advertising restrictions. And so the issue, though, is that some of these entities, because they receive federal funding, are unable to create programming programming specific to cannabis. And so we're looking at how other states have worked around this, perhaps framing it as value-added ag type of support. And so we're hoping that we can create some programming specifically to provide business support to those businesses. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, you absolutely did. Thank you. And, for those folks in the audience or listening at home who want to provide that kind of input, please let us know. I think, as you've seen here, the staff is incredibly well educated. They're taking this very seriously. They want to see it succeed, and I think this council does as well. So, whatever we can do. I know there's obviously many barriers out of our control at the municipal level as Congress continues to drag their feet, or on the MORE Act that could really change so many things. Doing as much as we can at home, I think we want to do it. I certainly do. And so please reach out to us if that's, if you're seeing those kinds of things. And including the excise tax, and maybe this is for Ikani as well. Ikani, when do you think we have to make sort of that official decision? And I also just want to side note that I want to thank Ikani and Catherine for keeping me up to date on all of this information, and they've been doing a really great job, and I don't always think of these questions when I'm right in front of you, so thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor. Okay.
Wait, no, Mayor, I had more questions. That was one.
Okay.
For Ikani. Just around the timeline for when he would see that we would need to make that official designation of the excise tax.
Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, thank you for that question. That, as soon as council is ready for that discussion, we can bring that. One of the thoughts, we anticipated this question coming up, so we anticipate taking this to the Finance Select Committee so that we can have this discussion there and then come to council for that. But as far as the timeline, Councilor Bencomo and to Mayor and to council, that is something where you let us know if this is something you want to head on right now. We can take this and start the discussions at the Finance Select Committee. So just give us that heads up, Councilor Bencomo and council.
Great, Ikani, thank you so much. I think the Finance Select Committee is a perfect place for that conversation, and I'm on it, so I'm going to obviously endorse that decision. But yes, I mean, I don't think it's too early to start that conversation, and I think we have a lot of areas that we can look to, a lot of cities that have done a great job at this, and so I'm really excited to start those conversations. And then just lastly, I really want to make a couple comments around the kind of service, the kind of customer service that the City of Las Cruces has been offering, and I just really wanted to thank staff. I think for a long time, obviously this industry was in the shadows, and now that it's not, I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, it probably feels very, very strange, right? Having to now learn what it means to run an official business, and so I just really wanted to thank staff and the entire public, and for those entrepreneurs who are making this effort to come learn, and those Wednesday meetings I think are really helpful. And so I just wanted to thank you all, and then just for the sake, that I think for us as policymakers that support legalization, that we still have a lot of work to do to challenge some of our own internal biases that we may still be holding against cannabis, whether consciously or not. And I think that that's okay, and honestly, it's to be expected given, frankly, the propaganda and the prohibition against cannabis for such a long time. But we really do have to normalize it as much as we've normalized alcohol use. And I recently saw a post on social media from a local retailer, Scott Craving, and he may even be in the audience, but he talked about actually not comparing alcohol use to cannabis use anymore, given that alcohol is a literal poison on our bodies, and cannabis is, in fact, it can have a medicinal impact on our bodies. And so perhaps the better comparison could even be coffee. So I think it's just important for us to think about that approach as we look at the industry as to how it's functioning in our community. I just think it's incredibly important that because we want to see it be successful, that we can't have one foot in the legalize it door and another foot in the idea that cannabis is still bad somehow. And so, you know, I think we need to go full force in supporting this industry and in really listening to the folks who are experts. And I'm also glad to see that many in the city are now experts as well. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Councilor. Okay, Connie, that pretty much concludes the presentation. Oh, yeah, yes, ma'am. If you want to come, yeah. Well, how many people would like to speak so I can get an idea? So let's just make it 2 minutes each, please. So just need you to state your name and.
My name is Nicole Fox, and I'm one of the founders of the Southwest Cannabis Trade Association that we have here in southern New Mexico. I'm also a technical writer and consultant in the cannabis industry. I've authored over 30 licenses, and I just want to echo a couple of things that have already been mentioned. First and foremost, the city has been extremely supportive of cannabis businesses in my observation here in city limits. They've been very helpful. And I feel that the city is invested in the success of the industry here in southern New Mexico. That being said, I hope you take public comment at some point in regards to how the excess tax is spent, because I hope it is of benefit to the children and families, here in southern New Mexico. So I do want to say that the association exists much like the services the city provides, which is to help those who are entering the cannabis business have some guidance and also a collective voice. So thank you very much for all the work that your departments have done to make the industry become a reality come April 1st. So thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. There was someone else. If you all want to make your way down here to the front, that would be great. Make things a little bit easier. I just need you to come forward. Just state your name, please.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Nathan Silva. I'm hoping to join the industry as a cannabis manufacturer. And likewise, I just wanted to add that the meetings that are occurring every Wednesday are very helpful. I've been in touch with other municipalities in the Doña Ana County, and by far, the city of Las Cruces has been the easiest one to work with and get a hold with. I've waited upwards of up to 2 months for responses and emails from other municipalities, and with all honesty, it's just a little absurd because with sales starting on Friday, it's very difficult to get into a business whenever you're waiting for a response for months at a time. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys some praise and the other city officials that have worked really hard to make it all come together. And I want to say I also agree that if you would allow public comment on how the excise tax is spent, that also sounds very important to me as someone looking to join the industry. If we compare ourselves to other states like California, they have an extremely difficult time communicating between stakeholders and city officials, which has led to lots of detriment, I guess you could say, within their industry and the things that they have going on over there. So once again, I just wanted to say thank you for opening the dialogue and continuing to keep communication open between stakeholders and yourselves.
All right, thank you, Nathan.
This on? All right, cool. Hello, thank you, everybody. My name is Chad Lozano. I'm a longtime patient.
I'm sorry, your first name again was what?
Chad.
Chad.
It sounds like Jack sometimes. I don't know why. I'm a longtime patient, veteran of Iraq War, and I've been active in this New Mexico cannabis industry since 2013. And seeing it grow into where it is now, it's really great to see that, and to see that there is some progress on some positive changes, as in the distance between the shops and allowing outside consumption would be really positive changes for the program, because right now there's still a lot of stigma around cannabis and cannabis use for recreational, medical, whatever it be, and that would help kill the stigma. Las Cruces would be very progressive in that to, as a lot of people said, make it as normal as tobacco or alcohol, and a lot of cannabis users really don't like that comparison, but it's the easiest comparison we can make with a general public aspect. So I really want to thank you guys and everything, and let's hopefully we can do something. Hopefully these changes can happen quick. I was going to ask you guys, when do you think that would actually happen? The meetings or any of that, like to change the outside consumption and the distance between the shops and everything, because that just might be a burden. And some people have actually said that's a burden on them now, and they're not too sure. So I was just wondering the timeline on the change for that, if anybody knows.
Chad, there's really no timeline. We probably can't even really discuss that because it's not on the agenda.
Okay.
We're just here to take we can probably, now you're welcome to, when we have a city council comments and, some council members can maybe bring it forward down the road, but yeah, we can't really engage in a dialogue as when we're going to do that right now. Well, I'm sure it won't be long, though.
Okay, I was just wondering, because, it's better than a year from now.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it won't be that long.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
I believe that Catherine, as staff, asked for some guidance. Is it related to that area? And so I think it feels like we are open, and I'd ask our attorney to weigh in on that. It was part of the recommendations and for us to weigh in on a work session related to very specifically which she outlined.
Jennifer, do you have a comment on that?
Mayor and Council, I guess I'm not clear on weighing in on the Clean Indoor Air Act.
No, I think he's very specific to the buffer.
The buffer and
300
outdoor consumption.
And that whole zoning component that Catherine brought up.
Well, there are, Mayor and Council, there are two things that are at play. The zoning, which legal had made a recommendation previous to, and then also the Clean Indoor Air Act is something different because that only pertains to smoking outdoors and using of vape, and that goes with tobacco or anything. So those are two different, very different things. And I know a couple of people mentioned the consumption of cannabis. That can be achieved in many ways that have nothing to do related to smoking, so it wouldn't affect the Clean Indoor Air Act. So we can make some of those clarifications as well, if necessary.
If I may, Mayor? Thank you, Jennifer. I think it's more about to Mayor's comment about not being able to have the conversation openly because it's not something a part of the cannabis discussion. Although, so my argument is that, well, staff is asking for council to make recommendation currently as it relates to the work session.
And I was actually a part of the SM 105 task force that changed the medical cannabis laws in the state. So if you guys ever need any help, I'm more than willing to help. I have outreach with patients and everything and business owners. So, totally would love to help with on something like that. But that's all I have. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. And Chad, thanks for your service.
Thank you. Yep. If I may, yes. Chad, I just want to thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chad, for your, not Jack. Chad.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for and thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you.
First and foremost. And thank you so much for raising that, the distinction between cannabis and alcohol, because actually cannabis is medicinal.
Yes,
and on so many levels, the manner of administration varies, behaviors vary as a consequence and all that. But thank you so much for raising that there is a distinction, and it's really too bad that in some ways that it's thrown into the same category as alcohol. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for realizing that, and thank you for everybody for listening. Appreciate it.
Debbie, even though we know you, we need you to state your name.
Debbie Moore, President and CEO of the Greater Las Cruces Chamber of Commerce. A couple of points I want to make, Mr. Mayor, and watch my time here, is number one, I want to just salute the Economic Development Department because we've been helping them with their various seminars, working very closely with Connie and the team as we go through this. And I've been representing the business world on the statewide seminars since before the first of the year. And most recently, I was appointed to the Citizens Regulatory Advisory Cannabis Committee. So we are working together to research and help the city align some of the things like funding and things like that. And I'm waiting on some confirmation of some of the funding that could be coming down. So I just want to let everybody know that we are working together, a great partnership to get these businesses up and running. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Debbie.
Hello, my name is Josh McCurdy. I just moved here from Ruidoso, New Mexico, and I was just going to suggest I worked with the city council and the mayor in Ruidoso. I've worked with the state on multiple strategy teams and everything. Just suggest like a working group with people in the industry and working with the city council and the mayor and everybody. So because the rules are going to be changing once a week from here on out with emergency rules and stuff. And I've been in multiple states in this industry for the last 10 years. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Josh. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. All right, well, thanks
Mayor,
for...
I have a couple of...
Yes, Madam Pro Tem.
Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. The courier question, I need some help understanding what the time frame looks at that in terms of getting their business license or whatever they need, and is that necessary for the rest of the businesses in terms of sampling and authenticity and whatnot? I'm worried about that, and is there a way that we can expedite that, or what are the issues that are preventing them to get it sooner?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Gondra, a courier under the definition of the state is someone who does not hold any cannabis. They carry it from place to place.
Right.
And so the state statute has rules on how that is done, and they're licensed and so on. But I think what you're talking about is how they get across the federal checkpoints. Is that what you're concerned
I'm not
about?
really. I guess I felt like the courier in your slide, Dr. Pitts, it talked about where the courier, in terms of that time frame and getting a business license and such. And then my question is, do we need that in order for the the businesses here to get up and running, or is that a deterrent to include the lab?
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Gondra. I appreciate your saying that. Yeah, no, it's not an issue. We do know there are other courier businesses out there,
okay,
and we're aware of them. Since we don't really have the business isn't really quite fully operational. The industry isn't quite fully operational. We're expecting that to be handled through the normal course of events. We have one guy that has kind of been proactive and got himself ready, and so he might have a lot of work in the next week or two. But we are aware of other businesses that have talked to us about it. The easy thing about the courier is since they don't actually keep cannabis in their business. They don't have to worry about warehouses. They don't have to worry about, and so they haven't had to go through the things that the other people were worried about, which is getting a business, a place of business ready, getting a permit to do a building, all those sorts of things. They're not. That hasn't been their worry. So I expect we'll get as retail begins on Friday, and as I think we will have them handled. I can get a courier registered in about if they have a state license, I can get them registered in about 35 minutes probably.
Okay, all right, that's good to know.
So, and as I said, we've been discussing this with businesses. There are people who have come talk to us, so they should be prepared for it.
Thank you, Dr. Pitts. So, in terms of what are next steps and when will you come back to council? Do we have that? And if we're not prepared to talk about excise tax today, like where we get the revenue and what to do with it today, when do we expect to come back to council? I would assume we would need to do that fairly quickly because sales begin on Friday, and I'd like to talk about it today, frankly. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Gondra. Mayor, we will come to the Finance Select Committee where we can have start those discussions. We can vet it there, use that as the PRC, and then come here to council. That was the thought. If you would prefer a different direction, please let us know. But as far as the timing, we could put this on at the next Finance Select Committee where there's
in
room.
April.
Yeah, if that's possible, we definitely can do that.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with it going to Finance Committee. We have Councilor Mayor, Councilor Flores, and I believe Councilor,
Finance?
yeah,
Joanna.
and Councilor Bengomo sitting in that. I think that's a perfect way. I don't know, I don't see Phil Katnack in the audience. I see Sonia, though. I wasn't sure if it's in our Health Policy Review Committee. I wasn't sure if that was a item that we'd like to discuss, and maybe we do that so that we're from a different perspective, and then share that information. Obviously, staff can share that with you and then bring it to council. I'm not saying do it absolutely Health Policy Review, but I am saying, yeah, I like the idea of hearing sooner rather than later and bringing it back later in to council in April, I'm thinking. Okay.
Duly noted.
All right, thank you so much, Connie. And then lastly, I think I like the task force idea was brought to my attention earlier, and I think that is a excellent idea, and it consists of folks that are user, from the medical cannabis, right, and then growers, maybe manufacturer, retail, a number of folks that represent the system, because I do think we're up against a lot in terms of the stigma and what it looks like. And I'm not the expert, but I know I've seen some posts about the unfortunate comparison between alcohol and cannabis and the medicinal practices, something that I don't know a lot about. And so to have that and have it in a way that I think we can share with the public, I think is important. And so with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So I think that pretty much concludes our questions from council and the public. So yes, Connie.
Mayor, can I just share one more thought?
Sure.
As there was discussion on the timing, when I reached out and talked on the timing of the zoning question that came up, and we were talking about when would that come in with Realize Las Cruces, that timing, according to our conversation with Catherine, she says about late summer, fall, where that would come to city council. So that zoning question addressing cannabis and restructuring of the buffer, that's that timing, and whether it gets approved months after. But one thing I wanted to share in the meantime, until that is approved, when I had asked Catherine in community development, any businesses currently right now who are working with them that have issues that pertain to the buffer, if they were prevented from moving forward, they said typically there has been, if they've had issues, they've been able to get variances on. So anyone in the meantime, if they're having issues right now, they've been able to be granted successful variances. So that was one of the mindset as well, is why have these buffers when they're already receiving variances? Take away that barrier as well. So I just wanted to share that for timing of any businesses listening. Community development and variances have been friendly until we are able to meet up with Realize Las Cruces and that zone change, or if council decides to come sooner than that. So just wanted to share that. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Connie. All right, thank you, Robert. So that concludes that adult use cannabis update. Now we're going to go to the ARMS quarterly update. And I know Richard Dayub and his team are here. So just need you to just state your name and you're good to go.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, City Manager Peely. Richard Dayub. I am the one of 4 members, 3 of us are here, of the Executive Committee for the Alliance for Regional Military Support. On my left is John Bailey, who is our Vice Chairman, and on my right, our Secretary, Lance Lear. Our Chairman, Gus Rodriguez, is actually in D.C. as we speak, working on initiatives related to what we're doing, and so we apologize for his inability to join us today. These guys also serve as my bodyguards in case there's some aggression. He used to play in the NFL. I need all the protection I can get. We have a relatively brief presentation to make to you, so I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible and enable us to then allow you all to ask us questions. Again, forgive my back, Representative Avecha. Do we have the presentation to put up on the screen for the audience?
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you have a PowerPoint. Did you give it to Annette?
Yes, they've had it for over a week, I think.
Okay, then it's probably in the system there, so.
I'll pause for a second.
Yeah, it looks
Or
like
would you rather I
Christine's.
just go ahead?
No, she's coming down here. Christine's going to try to find it in there. Thanks, Christine.
Advance it.
Just push down.
Just push that button. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we are ready to get started, and I thank you for helping with that. By the way, I should say we're thrilled to be back up here in person presenting to you versus in the past, I guess, year or so. We've had to just do this virtually. I think it makes it a lot easier for everyone to communicate with one another. So we thank you for that opportunity and for your continued support of our initiatives. So Project Convergence 2021, oops, thank you. The first bullet point up there, this past October, the Army Futures Command hosted their first ever Project Convergence, which brought together more than 4,000 defense contractors in the Las Cruces and El Paso, mostly Las Cruces area, for the better part of 4 to 6 weeks. It went extremely well, so well, in fact, that the Army has decided that the Project Convergence 2022, which will also be held in October, we're waiting for the final dates to be sent to us, is critically important to the region, and it's going to be the largest they will have ever done. We are already in the process of communicating with, excuse me, I just presented to Mr. Macias in Doña Ana County about this, and he made some excellent recommendations. We're going to be working with the state's Economic Development Department, the City of Las Cruces' Economic Development Department, as well as your convention and tourism folks, in alignment with the El Paso's Convention and Tourism Office as well, and our City Council, as well as with you. As we go through the next month or two, you'll be getting emails from us to try and engage at a higher level communications between our communities, meaning our city communities and our installation folks, so that we can ensure that everyone who comes in for Project Convergence in 2022 will have every bit of information they need well in advance of coming to communicate with you, to know what's available to them in the community, so that it's not just a matter of going out to the installation at White Sands and spending all your days there and then coming back and eating and going to bed. We want to engage them with the community. We want to engage them with our civic and elected leaders as well. So more to stay tuned for on this. We hosted a briefing by Colonel Venable with the commander at Beaumont, with our medical center for all regional partners, which went extremely well. And I'll touch on something about that towards the end of the presentation again as well. And then General Jody Daniels, you can't tell by the name, but Jody in this case is a woman. She's a 3-star general in the Army and oversees all of Army Reserves. And we hosted a guided tour for her. In fact, I think Lance and John were very actively involved in that at White Sands Missile Range. And then we had an opportunity to present. I apologize for using acronyms. We try to avoid that when possible. We overlooked this one. But this is Special Operations Forces at White Sands Facilities. That's the SOF that's in there. And then they worked on issues of tax credits for hiring reservists, which is an important opportunity for businesses in the local area. We also briefed Senator Ben Ray Lujan and Congresswoman Harrell. The recent accomplishments, continue.
I gotcha.
He drove all the way up from El Paso just so he could push that button for us. So, and I thank you for it. I thank you. General Funk, who is a training and doctrine commander, 4-star general, we briefed him up here and also recognized New Mexico State University, their cadets, and their professor of military sciences, just recently. And we're working with the Las Cruces school districts to involve them in Army scholarship opportunities with Cadet Command. And we've also briefed with Medical Command recruiting meeting with Las Cruces area high school students, which is a great connector for getting these students to pursue post-secondary education and finding out what opportunities are available to them in the Medical Command. Excuse me. The same we can say with MedCom and the University of New Mexico campus. And we participated in a New Mexico Land Commission meeting regarding encroachment. And for those of you who are not sure what encroachment means in this particular regard, it's protecting White Sands Missile Range from encroachment so that we don't do anything to impede their ability to grow and to continue doing testing and training up there. And we've been through this process numerous occasions. I see Mayor Pro Tem Gandara nodding, so she's aware of just how important this is.
You got it, Richard.
Okay. Preparing for Project Convergence 2022, I've already mentioned this to you all, so I won't go into that in detail again. And then strategizing with local, excuse me, regional economic development entities to support defense industry and military leaders. And the comments I made a few moments ago really tie to this, and I really want to build that relationship that we have at ARMS with your economic development folks. And with Mavita, we've been working with, similarly with the El Paso community as well, because it's critically important that the economic development folks understand how valuable this connection is with WSMR and with the defense contractors for us to help them grow those efforts. Potential partners I mentioned already with the folks, it's on the slide. You don't need me to read that to you. Preparing for the Host Industry Day with Raytheon Technologies and Las Cruces High Schools. We're actually looking at dates in the next month or two to have them come up and get together with them to see the opportunities to work in the technology arena and the job opportunities, high-paying job opportunities that exist. And again, preparing the military and defense economic impact briefing for regional leaders, because you need those talking points as you go forward, working with the defense contractors, working within the community as well. And tied into that, of course, our upcoming AUSA national meeting in Washington. I know you all were invited to go up with us this past year, and for obvious reasons, many of you didn't feel comfortable making that journey this past year. Things have really improved like they have here, and so we just want you to mark your calendars, 9th, 12th of October of this year. Plan for it, please, and as we get closer to the date and we have more details, we want to bring you in with us and take you with us to DC and have these critical meetings with the top executives within the defense industry, and to introduce you to top leaders in the green suits that you need to meet, and they are anxious to meet you as well. Excuse me. Hosting a VP for Dell Technologies. He is a top executive and focuses on STEM initiatives, and we're bringing him in to Las Cruces as well in the next 60 days, coming up from Austin. And then the Army G9, which is partner, everything's coded in the military, but the G9 he's in charge of partnerships, and so we want to bring him in to meet with you in Las Cruces and to discuss intergovernmental support agreements. The Excise I've talked about in the past. So this will give us an opportunity to look for contracting opportunities with Las Cruces, and particularly with Andy Hume with the airport out here. We've talked to Andy about this, and he actually participated in a virtual conference we had recently. I'm getting better at this. So now the way forward, so proactively pursuing continuous improvement in the regional military medical compatibility and capabilities, and towards the end I'll touch on that in greater length. Staying engaged with Army Futures Command, who is headquartered in Austin, and Air Force Works, which is the compatible role with the Air Force as it relates to Army Futures. continuing to advocate for White Sands and their capabilities. That is paying off. We're seeing small segments of growth coming to White Sands, and of course, the big Army really recognizes the importance of White Sands as it relates to Army Futures Command and all of its Army testing and training. So this is all valuable to us as a community and will help us to continue to grow both inside the fence line and outside the fence line as well. Sustaining and improve the defense workforce by building a pipeline of veterans in the region. This is critically important, and I can tell you the two gentlemen standing next to me can answer any questions that you have related to veterans, opportunities, and the work that they're doing in the region as well. And of course, off-post housing. This is something we could spend a lot of time talking about, and we're getting ready to go up to Alamogordo to talk to them as well, and we're trying to get this message across in El Paso as well. For a period of time, and this goes back to the BRAC 05 process, we were encouraging builders, both single-family and multifamily, to ramp up. And now, today, what we're dealing with, and you're dealing with the same thing here, we're dealing with it across the region and across the country, and that is housing, and particularly affordable housing, as housing has gone through the roof, and now interest rates are going up as well. And so this all presents a similar challenge for us, whether we're civilians or whether we're military. How do we afford to buy that house, especially for a first-time buyer? So we want to put on the agenda for you that we're speaking to you today, that we stand at the ready to help you and help your local developers discuss these issues and how we can help them in growing that particular market segment, so that as growth comes in and people need housing, that they in fact can make it affordable as much as possible and still be competitive in the marketplace. So, and we talked about encroachment earlier, that this is a continuing issue. So we maintain that effort, and it's one that we can't just put aside and say, well, okay, that's done. It's just an ongoing issue that we have to deal with. And same thing with dealing with defense contractors. We're actually developing a little link that we're going to hopefully have in the next month or so that we can share among our partners in the three communities, so that as we get closer, we can post everything that you need to know about the city of Las Cruces, Hermosillo, city of El Paso as well. If you're coming here for Project Convergence, everything you need to know is right there at your fingertips, because we really want them to not just come in and out. We want them to come here and say, you know, I was just in Las Cruces, and this community is pretty cool, and we'd like to go back and visit more. And oh, by the way, let's talk to their economic development folks to see what we can do with them to possibly open an office here, which brings jobs. I'm losing my voice as we go. I apologize for that, but we're almost at the very end. Again, the talking points are critical for you all, and so we continue to develop them and to update them and then share them with you as we go along. And then we've already reached out to Gabe Camarillo, who is the Undersecretary of the Army and a native El Pasoan. And yesterday I was at a fundraiser, I'm not supposed to say that, am I, for Congresswoman Escobar, and she and I talked privately about this. They've become fast friends. We met him when he was working for a defense contractor a couple of years ago, and we were in D.C. with him. And so he's already made a commitment to come down, spend some time with us in Las Cruces. So as soon as we have those dates, we'll get those to you. That's an important partnership that we want to continue to build upon and strengthen. And that gets us to questions. And the three of us are here to answer any questions that you may have for us.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Richard. So let me just see if any questions. Okay, so I have a few.
Yes, sir.
So are you at liberty to talk about the Special Operation Forces there at White Sands? Are they looking to come here permanently?
Yes, and I'll actually hand that off to John.
Mayor, thank you very much. My name is John Bailey. They are permanent. They're taking over a battalion headquarters out there, so they are out here permanently.
Oh, that's great. So about how many more soldiers is that, approximately?
Mr. Mayor Lansler, thank you. Really, I don't think we should go into how many. I can tell you that it's between 0 and 200. But the good thing about this is it's not just those that are going to be here.
They're doing training.
They're training others, which means that there will be multiple iterations, somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 a year, of large units coming in and being trained there. So you have the base set, and then you have 10 rotations of different types of training going on.
So then they might be using hotels here in the city then?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Also, thank you for that. I noticed that you met with Senator Ben Ray and Congresswoman Harrell, but I noticed Heinrich was missing. Is he on the Armed Services Committee?
Yes, sir.
So did he just not want to meet with you guys?
It wasn't that he didn't want to meet with us. It was a scheduling issue, to be candid. And we've been trying to get back on his calendar. And as you know, right now, particularly over the last month, with what's happened in Ukraine, virtually almost every member of Congress has been otherwise disposed. And so we're still trying to get back on his calendar.
Okay.
But a great question. Thank you, sir.
If I may, Mayor Lansler again, we have talked with his staff. So they do get the point. They do. We have talked with them numerous times. And so they're very aware of what we want to talk about. We just haven't been able to talk.
Came and visited EFO and myself, and they were talking about, even though El Paso International is a busy airport and it's large, they still could use more service. And so this was a great opportunity, and I didn't know, and I know Andy's sitting out there, I didn't know if you said you spoke to Andy. Did that conversation even come up, or can that conversation come up about Colonel Brady and wanting to know, because they're bringing a lot of soldiers in for training.
Yes, sir.
And even with the schedule that they have with these various airlines that they use, they could still use more. And so that would be, we could provide the perfect opportunity for them to, once we get that air service here, to also let these, whether it's Southwest Airlines, American Airlines, excuse me, know that we could handle that service and then be able to transport somehow, or they could come pick them up here in Las Cruces.
Another great question. We actually just spoke about this last week with Colonel Brady because he made a commitment. I don't know if he spoke directly with Andy. No. But he spoke extensively about this, and so we just gave him a gentle reminder that that should be at the very top of his checklist, that he needs to get back here with us with a response so that we can convey something to Andy directly or have him meet with Andy directly to see how we implement this program. But it's literally last week we had a conference call about it. Yes, sir.
Oh, great. Sounds
and we'll
good.
keep you all posted.
Okay. Oh, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
That's all I had. Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. Mr. Dayub, you indicated that there would be a need for housing, affordable housing. How many people, persons, military people, whatever, are you expecting, and what is the median? What is the median income that you're looking at for those people who will be stationed there?
Another great question, and we're going to team answer this one. But to your first question, we don't have a number on the personnel yet, and that's why.
Well, that was his answer, 0 2.
Well, only as it pertains to that one particular Special Operations Forces group.
Oh, okay.
But in general, we don't yet have a defined response from Department of Defense and Department of Army so that we can communicate that message to say, well, we think there's going to be X number of individuals who will be needing to live in the community, and because of their income range, some of them will want single-family homes, some will want to rent, some can only afford to rent. And then the median issue, I'll just let John take that.
Thank you very much, John Bailey. Ma'am, so the The Army, as you may know, is in the process of redefining some of the brigade or divisions and what they are. And those are going to have to do some testing and training and various things like that. So there's going to be some growth at White Sands, potential on that. In terms of median, one of the things we look at is what their basic allowance for housing is and where that plays into that type of role. So as we get more information, we'll actually be able to put together kind of here's what the basic allowance for housing, the amount is, here's what the average soldier at this level is making, and this is what they're looking for in housing. And we can provide that type of information to the builders and council here on those type of opportunities.
Okay. The best part about about saying whatever it was that you said about housing is that help. So are you talking about financial help, or are you just helping with more bodies being here in the city of Las Cruces?
So
which, of course, they're welcome. But I hope you're talking about money regarding housing.
So when the housing in the military, they do a basic housing allowance.
Yes.
For all of our service members. So they get a certain amount of money every month to help offset cost of housing.
Yes.
So that's already given, and that plays into if they live off post. So they're not living on White Sands, they're living in Las Cruces. That money is part of what goes to their rent or purchase, their mortgage, whatever happens to be with that. So that money comes with those soldiers and their families.
Okay. But I'm just looking at our housing situation, especially they'd probably be looking at the east side because that's closer to Highway 70, closer to White Sands missile range. So God bless you. And so I'm just wondering how soon this would happen, how much we should be ready for this, because there is an explosion of development or growth out there. But the homes are not really affordable. They're just not. And that's the concern we here as a city have about our residents who, there's someone making $50,000 or $60,000, which, decades ago would have been a lot of money. Today, it doesn't, and we don't have homes that are, at $150,000 just don't exist. So, those are the concerns I have in being ready and being able to provide homes for the military people who will be here. They might opt to maybe live in El Paso, or they just go up 54, or maybe out to Alamogordo. But I'd love to have them here. So I just want to put that out there. And the help you're talking about, no? Is that top secret too?
So there really isn't, the military doesn't, DOD doesn't have financial help.
Oh, I see. You were just talking about how the individual.
Yes, how they get their housing allowance on that. Yes.
Yeah.
So, but to your concern, you get into the El Paso market and the Alamogordo market, they have even more concerns because their housing is becoming even pushed higher. So what we're seeing is a lot more growth into the Las Cruces area. Even for soldiers now getting stationed at Fort Bliss are looking at the Las Cruces area as a very reasonable place to come and live. So we're seeing more of the housing coming this way than we're seeing going north or into the El Paso market. There's no more growth on the west side of El Paso. It's pretty stuck out there. And you can grow east, but that's continuing to get farther and farther away. With traffic, it's actually easier in some cases to live here in Las Cruces and come in that way to Fort Bliss. Now you're at White Sands. Las Cruces is the ideal place. And as we get more information, you asked about a time frame. We don't know. We just know what the Army's looking at and how that's going to be playing out here, the next couple, 2-3 years on it. But it's something that we're very aware of and are putting together information that we can help present to builders and the council about, here's the type of housing that's needed, whether it's multifamily housing, single-family housing, what type of opportunities there are with that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, and Councilor Beta.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a follow-up question, actually, from Councilor Flores. Do we know the number of I guess, retired service members that are staying in the area.
You want to take it?
You got it, Lance.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. We really don't. We can tell you exactly what the Census Bureau says. We can tell you what other odd websites and so forth tell us. But the only real way to get that information is to have that as part of the municipal capability. So some have actually done that, very few. None of the largest have done it. El Paso City is starting to do that now. They're trying to figure out how to get that because tax base, because of all that. So I can give you a great estimation, which gets, right now is probably almost spot on, but will get less and less and less spot on as the time between census data moves. Does that answer your question?
Yes. So my second question probably is going to have a similar answer then, but that was, what types of trades or professions are most service members coming out with? And I'm just thinking of this, if we are able to kind of tie in with our departments and making sure we can build those little connections afterwards for service members.
Absolutely. All of them. I mean, so there's 193 occupational specialty codes, which break down into hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different jobs. I think that you can help bring in the right people through advertising the jobs. We try to get each of the municipalities to tie a job title to a military occupational specialty code. And we can work with you through that. We can work through the city with that, and we can get you those codes. And it's actually a free service done by Google. It just requires that whatever HR software, if it's proprietary or not proprietary, that they actually place that on there. But it's definitely doable. All the skills that you'd see in a normal city would be covered. So for the city itself, generally every skill that the city uses, there is an MOS qualification for that, from engineering to truck driving to sciences to STEM, so forth.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor.
Ma'am, if I could, I'd like to jump in and just add a little bit more to that. One of the things that we're really pushing is to work with the community colleges to develop some technical training. A lot of our younger soldiers are getting out. We get about 5,000 get out a month, 1,000 get out a month? About 12,000 a year. So about 1,000 soldiers exit out of White Sands and Fort Bliss together, because they process out of Fort Bliss out there. And we're really focused on trying to get the technical schools to work with our Soldier for Life on our transition assistance program to get these soldiers to be able to find jobs here in the Las Cruces area that'll work. So we're working closely with, we've worked with Donana Community College, we're working with El Paso Community College, and really trying to build that. Two things that we're trying to do is, one, be able to employ our soldiers as they get out, but also to start building a technical trade here so that our large defense industry can start looking at coming here for their manufacturing, for their trade schools, as opposed to someplace else. They might as well have it here when they're at White Sands. So that's one of the things that we're working with the community colleges on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, all three of you, for being here. I appreciate your work on this. Of course, this is near and dear to me, having been a mom to a veteran. I wanted to ask, I just see a lot of connections. I'm not sure internally how those are occurring currently with, like, Natalie Green, who's our housing guru here. And I would recommend that you have a conversation with them. There's several projects in the queue, and we need to think about that in terms of what, what you have currently looking for homes, be it single-family dwelling, multifamily, and or those that are leaving. You said 1,000 or something that are looking for, you know, a place to live and school, some kind of technical trade, if you will. So I see some real connections with Natalie Green, our HR Director, Joe Richards, especially with the vacancies that we're wanting to fill. I know that, when Dr. Bayadas comes in there and does the jobs of the week, he has these lists of jobs, and so many of them are identifying, you know, we're holding these for so many days for our veterans or, you know, our military folks, families as well. So I see some real connections, and I'm hoping that Mr. Peely, you and your staff can help make those connections with a very specific meeting and conversation relating to that. And then I see Debbie Moore in the audience, and they have a special group committee that works with military, and she sends folks, you know, to Washington. So gosh, wouldn't it be cool to coordinate and collaborate efforts and send a big contingency out there to have those conversations?
We would love to have the Las Cruces Chamber participate with us.
Okay.
We've actually spoken to them in the past, and we just haven't been able to connect up.
Catch up. Well, she's right here. Look, she's up in the beautiful yellow, and she can wave her hand to you. But I think the more we coordinate and collaborate, I think rather than sending two separate groups, I think the better. That would be helpful. And then lastly, I always have to put a plug into mental health, especially with what you all are facing with and what I'm hearing. I appreciate the connections we've made to our suicide prevention task force and those folks that come from.
I get all of your emails.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm hoping that there's special consideration and time to address, you know, training and capacity building related to suicide prevention and mental health. And I actually attended a mental health veterans conference last week, and it was excellent. We saw some people from White Sands come over in the base, and you know, we had some great conversation about how they link and refer the military and their family, their spouses, right, to services and such. And you guys are doing some phenomenal work, but I know it could be very heavy. So anything that we can do here as it relates to improving behavioral health in that area, please don't hesitate to call on us.
Absolutely, and we appreciate the offer. We are a small band of brothers, and we have a very focused area. We don't, now I like to participate with your group, but we don't even pretend to be experts in any way, shape, or form in that field, but we work with Colonel Venable at William Beaumont and other experts who are dealing with these issues. As you know, because you're so integrally involved, this is a very heavy issue that has been a burden to everyone, the families that are directly affected, and of course the military leaders who are trying to grapple with how do they deal with this. And frankly, I think everyone expected since we left Afghanistan that things would begin to improve. That has not been the case.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be an ongoing issue for us.
It's going to be an
quite some time.
ongoing issue and a paradigm shift for the military, I would say, in the way they re-examine how they're looking at that and working with our military folks, right, on duty and active duties and such. I know it's going to be difficult, but it definitely is worth our time to sit and have those conversations openly, for sure.
We agree.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question back to all of you. You mentioned Natalie Green. Is she a city employee, or is she outside the organization?
She is. She's a city employee and works specifically in our economic development department under housing.
Great.
Yes.
Well, then I'll reach back out to her.
And she's in the back, like she's going to wave to you right now. Yeah.
Okay. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is that means you have to deal with it now. I will get with her so we can coordinate and begin conversations that hopefully will bring some fruit.
Yes, thank you.
Right?
Thank you, Mayor.
If I may, unless there are other questions, I have a closing.
I was just going to ask if Councilor Bencomo had any questions.
No, I'm okay, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I have you here on my phone, a picture. So he says the
Mayor,
bottom
thank you, and council, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you and to present to you. We look forward to the next opportunity. I have one closing comment for you all. The mayor is aware of this, so is the city manager, Mr. Peely, and Eric Enriquez, because we've sent them an email about this. We have chosen a date, April the 26th, for a brief get-to-know-one-another little reception that we haven't settled on the venue just yet, but we'll look. I just was meeting with a couple of the managers. I was up at the Hotel Encanto before I came over here today as well, and the Sonoma Ranch, for Colonel Venable, who is the commander of the William Beaumont Army Medical Center. We recognize that you have an issue with public meetings and having a quorum, so I don't know how you're going to decide this, but as soon as we settle on the venue, we'll send you the invitation. And then those of you who decide you want to come, if you'll let us know, so we know whether we're dealing with a quorum or not. But we want to have this little get-together, just an hour and a half, informal, get to know each other, no host bar kind of a thing with some light appetizers. But where we really need your help is once we send you this information, if you could please send us the names of individuals in the business community that you think ought to be coming to these kinds of things, to send us their contact information, and we'll invite them directly ourselves. And with that, we will close with a thank you again for this opportunity. And
I was going to say, if you leave that information with Christine, if you think that a possible quorum is going to be present, it's going to need to be open to the public, and you may need to also open up your checkbook because they're going to want to eat and all that stuff. I'm just kidding, but it's got to be open to the public.
we'll check them at the door. If they don't have any money in their pocket, we won't let them in.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if you get in touch with Debbie about that April 26th, she's in touch with the business community every day. So
That'll be our last stop before we walk out of the
Great.
building.
Thank you.
Thank you all very, very much. Appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the last item is going to be the budget review, and I'm going to take off for a little bit. The university's having another press conference here, so Mayor Pro Tem is going to run this portion. So thank you very much. I just want to say thank you very much for putting the budget together. I know that's always a challenging task, but you all are tops in the state, and congratulations again on your award. And look forward to many great things, and we'll see you in a little bit.
Oops. So good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Again, Matthew Sines, Interim Chief Budget Officer. Also with me, I have David Cedillo, Public Works Director, with me today. Also Srijana Basnet, Performance Manager. Sarah Cundiff, Management Analyst. And also Carla Walton, Community Engagement Coordinator. So the purpose for today's work session is basically to update Council on our FY23 budget progress. So this is the first of 2 work sessions for us. At this point, it's just a check-in to let you know where we are at in the process. So I will be providing a snapshot of our financials at this point in time, and just please keep in mind that we're still in the working on these budget numbers, and this is very preliminary at this point, and these are subject to change. As part of that, we did provide Council with a proposed budget binder. In that, it's basically a living document. So as we go through our process and make updates, we will update your books with different colors to let you know what has been updated. I will also be providing a review of the Council priorities that were brought forward during the budget retreat. I'll then hand it off to Ms. Carla Walton to provide some information for a new initiative for Las Cruces, and we'll wrap up the conversation with a presentation for the Capital Improvement Program. So taking a look at our budget timeline, This all began back in October with our grants team meeting with legislators and counselors to identify potential funding opportunities for the 2022 legislative session. In November, the budget team, along with Public Works, met with individual counselors, and in this meeting, counselors were able to express some of their priorities for the upcoming year. We held our annual budget retreat on January 27th and 28th at the Las Cruces Convention Center. We discussed several topics from the budget-making environment, strategic planning, initiatives and considerations for fiscal year 2023, economic development, utilities, and we also had guest speakers from Senator Heinrich's office, who spoke about the infrastructure bill, and Eric Harrigan from RBC Capital, who provided an overview for debt. Councilors also participated in an exercise to vote for priorities to give us a better idea of where to focus our energies. In February, we began our budget meetings with departments and city management. This is an opportunity for departments to request additional funding to help them meet their strategic results. And here we are today on March 28th at the first of our council work sessions. Again, this is the first of 2 budget work sessions. Our next session is in April 25th, so we are required by our city charter to have at least 1 budget work session and 1 public hearing. Our public hearing is on May 4th, and we will bring forward the budget for adoption on May 16th. And just an important date to throw out there is June 1st. We are required to submit our budget to the New Mexico Department of Finance. So budget considerations for fiscal year 2023, we did provide for a 3.5% merit increase for unrepresented positions. We also budgeted for negotiated contracts for police, fire, and blue collar. And back in 2020, the Public Employment Retirement Association increased the contribution for employees and employers 2%. That 2% was broken into 4 years of increments of 0.5%. So we're currently in our 3rd year, so we're accounting for that 0.5%. Open positions are budgeted at 6 months. This will give us a more realistic number to work with on our vacancies. And healthcare and dental is budgeted at 80-20. If you'll remember this, the employer contribution increased from 60-40 to 80-20. So we are accounting for that, as well as a 4% increase for healthcare provider agreements. As far as our revenue forecast considerations, we are taking into account the cannabis excise tax, as well as the internet sales tax changes from House Bill 2 from destination-based sourcing. So this is a look at our revenue comparison for years 2021 through our proposed budget of 2023. The last column here on your right is the difference between fiscal year 2022 and 2023. So gross receipts tax increased 7%. As part of our assumption, we're taking into account for the change in the internet sales tax from House Bill 2. What that means is we are no longer receiving a fixed amount for internet sales tax, but receiving this amount as part of our regular GRT. As you can see, we have 97 million estimated on that. Property taxes saw a 2% increase. We're at 13.4 million. Excise tax is where we will be accounting for the cannabis sales tax. At this point, we're currently being really fiscally conservative with our budget since we don't have any prior history on this. However, we will be working closely with economic development on their assumptions. Franchise fees, we had no change on that. We're still at 3.9 million. And internet sales tax is currently budgeted at 0. And that's because we did receive fixed amounts here in the past, as you can see in fiscal year 22 at 2.1 million. So the amounts for internet sales tax, as I mentioned, are part of our regular gross receipts tax here in the 97.1 million. Investment income is down 43%. We're budgeting that at 100,000. With current market conditions, we're just not seeing strong returns on those. If you'll remember, during our mid-year adjustment, we brought forward an adjustment to decrease our investment income across the board. And looking at the general fund, it looks like we'll probably have to come back again with another adjustment because that's still a little bit too high. Other revenues are down 22%, and this is because initially in fiscal year 2022, we had hoped to implement our administrative fees and do a cost allocation out to several units throughout the city. However, we will be taking a phased approach into fiscal year 2023. So our proposed revenues are budgeted at $123.2 million, which is a 2% increase from fiscal year 2022. So this is a look at where our money comes from. As you can see, the majority of our income comes from gross receipts tax at about 79%. Property tax is close to 11%. We have excise tax for the cannabis at 0.41%, franchise fees at 3.22%, and if you squint hard enough, you can see the investment income of 0.08%, and other revenues, which include licensing and fees, police record fees, and parks and recreation fees, just to name a few, are at 6.5%. So this is a snapshot of our expenditure comparison for fiscal years 21 through fiscal year 23 proposed. And again, the difference column is a difference between, it's a comparison from fiscal year 22 to 23. So personnel increased 6%. This accounts for the 3.5% merit increase. Negotiated positions increased contributions from the 60% to 80% for employers, the employer portion, for healthcare and dental, and also the 4% increase for healthcare provider cost. And lastly, to mention the 0.5% increase for the Public Employee Retirement Association, also known as PARA. Operating increased 9%, mainly contributed to the increase in fuel. Also, with COVID restrictions, we did see an increase in requests from departments for travel. And also, we are closing out the fund 6320 employee health to the general fund. So since we are switching to the state insurance and no longer self-insured, those expenditures now have a new home in the general fund. Capital saw a decrease of 37%. This is mainly due to progress with current capital projects in the general fund, as well as an overall decrease in requests from major equipment from departments. So our proposed for fiscal year 2023 is $123 million, which is a 4% increase from 2022. So this is a snapshot of this is a look at where our money goes. As you can see, personnel is this big Pac-Man shape that is chomping away at our budget at close to 70%. Operating is at 28%, and we have capital at 3% for those items over $5K. So moving on to FY23 council priorities. So these priorities were derived from individual meetings with councilors. We presented these to council at the budget retreat in January, and councilors had the opportunity to vote on specific themes tied to our strategic plan or projects that fell within that theme. So for today, I'm not going to present the results from that exercise, but a list of those items that received at least one vote and estimated amounts that are currently budgeted for fiscal year 2023. So this entire slide represents the strategic theme for community prosperity. Under the category for business development, we have CP5, which is the Elevate goal, CP3 for entrepreneurship, and cannabis business zoning and training currently estimated at 5,000. Under the category for community services, we have continuation of community events estimated at 321,000. Events for that include National Night Out, Bike Packing Summit, Christmas Tree Lighting Event, and Quality of Life has several events scheduled throughout the fiscal year. Our next category is equity for guaranteed basic income. This is still to be determined. This originally came forward to council as part of the ARPA request, and I believe this will be coming back soon. The next category is housing diversity for CP2, elevate goal CP11 for attainable housing, affordable and obtainable housing, and housing for seniors and disabled. We're currently estimating about $1.2 million budgeted for this as part of the home funds and as well as the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. The next category is redevelopment for CP8, elevate goal to prioritize development of attractive, energy-efficient, mixed-income housing infill areas along the Alpacel corridor, and for the Solano Metropolitan Redevelopment Act. For each project, they have $150,000 budgeted. So for the total is $300K for the total theme. The next category is transportation for free public transportation. This amount is still to be determined. Next category is parks maintenance and upgrades. Specific projects were named for this. So for the Burn Lake, Franger Park, Tony Gomez, and Villamora Dam, currently estimated at $891,000. The majority are for the Villamora Dam and for Burn Lake, which we received state appropriations on that. So our total community prosperity is estimated at $2.7 million. The next theme is education and community services. Community service is the category. We had funding requests for the Trap, Neuter, and Return program, as well as Animal Service Center, Mesilla Valley, Community Education, and Low-Cost Spay and Neuter. This amount is still to be determined. The next category is senior services, and this is to plan for an aging population of $2 million. Currently, we have amounts included for the Munson Center renovation, Sage Cafe expansion, senior assessments, and various events for senior programs. The next category is youth programs to address education, alienation, bullying, and to disperse youth services to impoverished areas. Estimated amount is $507,000. Programs include Parks and Rec Youth Development and Diversion Program, Teen Connection, and the Las Cruces Police Department Youth Leadership Program. The total for education and community services is $2.1 million. Our next theme is environmental sustainability for the category of business development, and the project is for state funding to assist low and moderate income households for residential solar, and we are still looking for funding opportunities for this at this time. The next theme and category is capital infrastructure and infrastructure improvements. Specific projects named for this were the active transportation plan, the bridge on Elks. We recently brought forward a resolution on this a few weeks ago to apply for US DOT funding for a flyover on Elks. And also Loman and Roadrunner medians, I believe, will be completed this year. I'll have to ask for some support from Parks and Rec on this. And then Metro Verde to complete Engler. Also, the pavement condition index is still receiving the additional $2 million from the Hold Harmless funding that we provided back in 2022. An underpass was requested at Engler and an underpass at Madrid, and also unpaved roads. I believe we have $250,000 allocated to that. Our total for capital infrastructure improvements is $17.8 million. And our last theme and category is public safety for health-related services. The health complex, we're currently looking to add some money to this to at least get the ball rolling for plan and design, maybe some studies on this. Also for mental health issues and mobile crisis program support of $1.2 million. So our total here for public safety is $1.4 million. So this is a look at the funding priorities in terms of dollars. So as you can see, the capital improvement and infrastructure is 74%. Of course, those are larger scale projects and typically funded through debt instruments. Also on our public safety, we have 5%, community prosperity, 11%, community services at 10%, and we're still looking for that opportunity for solar under our environmental sustainability. So as part of our 2023 budget, We currently identified several projects that fit within the scope and language of the Telshore Fund that will improve the lives of the sick, the indigent, and low-income people of the city of Las Cruces. So we are making a recommendation to fund these projects out of the Telshore Fund. So under health-related services, mobile integrated health at $618,000, crisis intervention team at $558,000, and the health complex at $200,000. Under transportation, we have a request to fund a grant match for electric buses at $871,000, and we would also make a recommendation to fund the new program called Lift Up Las Cruces at $220,000. Here to tell you more about Lift Up Las Cruces is Carla Walton.
Thank you so much, Matt. Good afternoon, Carla.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, members of City Council. My name is Carla Walton with the Community Engagement Office, and I'm here to give you a little refresh about this new initiative, Lift Up Las Cruces. And if you remember, Lift Up Las Cruces is a new program that we're in the process of implementing. It's a multi-departmental effort of the City of Las Cruces to combine resources to improve neighborhoods one at a time. The program would allow us to identify needs or concerns within that neighborhood and allows the city to focus the limited resources in one place to make a larger impact. And the goals, the program has three main goals. Number one is break the poverty cycle, to address public safety concerns, and to create a positive impact on the social determinants of health, also known as SDOHs. And the social determinants of health is a topic that has been extensively researched by public health specialists, scholars, nonprofits, and different groups. And the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services defines it as the conditions and the environment where people are born, live, learn, work, play, worship, and age that have an impact in their health and their quality of life outcomes and their risk. So pretty much this goes to the premise that UC code has an impact in your health. And then when you go to Elevate Las Cruces talks about principles of sustainable growth. And they talk about the World Health Organization domains of livability. And they talk about the importance of having housing, community and health services, outdoor spaces, and buildings. Those are the domains. So based on these criteria, staff selected the first neighborhood. And this is a map that you can see to the right side of the slide. And it's located in District 1. And just to show, this red icon is Apodaca Park. So you can see that the neighborhood, that the area that was selected, it goes to East Madrid, Solano, Spruce, goes back again by Kilmer, Juniper, Elder, and surrounds all the area. And the main reason why this area was selected was because we have a high percentage of residents that are low income to moderate income. And then this is a map that was created by our CGIS section of community development. And I want to bring to your attention to this. What they did is they imputed all the crime data between October 2020 to September 2021. If you see the blue dots, the blue circles over here, they represent the violent crime. The red represent the property crime, and the green are the incidents that represent domestic violence.
Thank you, Carla. So just the next steps in our budget process. Next, we hope to finalize our proposed budget for our work session on April 25th, so we will be back with some more information for you. Also, our public hearing is on May 4th, and then we will have our City Council budget adoption on May 16th. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Srijana Basnet.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, City Councilors. Srijana Basnet, Performance Manager. I will be partnering with our Public Works staff today to provide you with a brief overview of our capital improvement planning process and propose new projects for FY23. So not only does the city charter require us to have a capital improvement plan for the city in particular, it also works as the most direct implementation tool for council-approved initiatives. The main one being our comprehensive plan, Elevate Las Cruces, which the city charter requires a relation to be established between it and the capital improvement plan. Additionally, any policy plan or master plan that has an impact or provides some direction in terms of growth or maintenance for infrastructure also has the ability to be implemented directly through the CIP. So this is just a typical milestones chart for the CIP process. We followed this current cycle. So it began in October of 2021. Seems like a long time ago. So that was the initial submission process for all of the project requests that departments submitted. As Matt mentioned earlier, we also have work sessions, and we partner with the budget team to have a public hearing as well for the capital improvement plan. May is when City Council will see all the changes incorporated and a final CIP that comes before you for approval. In September, the city submits or enters the projects identified as future needs into the state's ICIP database, which becomes the list of eligible projects for the following legislative session in early 2023. So for this particular round, we had 339 requests submitted, and that was after departments went through an evaluation and rescoping and discussion of their projects. So of these 339 requests, they submitted individually as departments or organizational units their own ranking based on the CIP ranking criteria or prioritization criteria. So as the CIP transitions this year to the Performance Management Office, the city manager has directed us to start the process of realigning the CIP to the comprehensive plan. A major part of that is to make the location of proposed projects aligned with the future development program in Elevate Las Cruces. So here's a couple of questions that were introduced this round to kind of nudge that thought process. And so specifically, you're looking at the question of, does the proposed project fall within one of the identified areas, one or more, on any of the maps in Elevate Las Cruces or the active transportation plan? It also provided the departments with the opportunity to cite any goal or policy or action in Elevate, specifically in its work program, that could support the project. And this is all leading to the idea that we have a more deliberate and strategic investment of our capital infrastructure. So we did modify the process this year, just in terms of the Facilities Maintenance Fund. Actually, a portion of that, which totals about $235,000. This is what all of the departments are really competing for every year. And currently, this round, what we did was, rather than go through a broader process of involving 40-plus staff members, we had the expert staff rank based on those expert fields. So for example, planning staff reviewed the top ranked projects already ranked by the departments who were submitting, and they based that ranking on planning and sustainability criteria. We had our facilities maintenance or facilities management and public works staff review and rank projects based on funding, scheduling, and existing capital criteria in the prioritization matrix. That was followed by an intensive short kind of working meeting between all of these groups or all these staff people to come together to make a recommendation of 3 final projects, which our Director of Public Works, Mr. David Cedillo, will describe in detail a little bit later in the presentation. So before we do talk about those projects, I did want to highlight a couple of small changes. Again, in this process of reevaluation and assessment of the CIP process, we are not making extensive changes right now, but I'm just gonna walk you through a couple of things that were quick enough and hopefully useful to have made this round. So currently, Public Works projects come first in the list of CIP projects, but for FY23, what we're doing is alphabetically reordering all of the projects to go by their department or organizational unit name. Also, in the future, we are proposing that projects requested by nonprofits, for which the city acts as fiscal agent, be separated out, and as such, not lumped together under any particular department. The other small change is the bolding of the funding source to distinguish the current funding source as opposed to just listing all of the current and potential funding sources in that last column that you see on the CIP document. So with that, I have the pleasure of introducing Ms. Sarah Cundiff, our management analyst for Public Works, who will go over in further detail the actual CIP document, its financials, and also some of the projects that are proposed as newly funded this year.
Thank you, Shoshana.
Welcome, Sarah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. My name is Sarah Cundiff. I'm the management analyst for Public Works, and I want to walk you through some of the visual dynamics of the capital improvement plan in front of you. I am going to pick on Andy Hume at the airport. I'm using his page as an example because it's clear, concise, and it fits on one slide. So thank you, Andy Hume, for providing an excellent example. We're going to go from left to right here. We start off in our left column or our left section with our projects. Please note that they are now listed in alphabetical order by organizational unit. Within each one of those, you may find them within a potential of 4 categories, either newly funded, carryover, annual, or future. Newly funded simply indicates that this will be the first fiscal year this project is proposed to receive funding. Carryover indicates that it is carrying budget over from prior fiscal year into coming fiscal year. Annual indicates this project is budgeted for on an annual basis, and while the amount may fluctuate based on availability and revenues, generally speaking, it is budgeted in the same relative amount year to year. And future are those projects which have no funding at all and only have financial needs. And the next column, the green column, green like money, this is everything that is funded under the proposed FY23 budget. The future needs are in what we call the outer years. Some people also call it the ICIP. But those columns which do not have that green background behind them are clearly the future needs. We try to use that as the term future needs. We don't want to have any misconceptions that this is an indicator that it will be funded in that fiscal year. It's an indicator that it has a financial need for that fiscal year. So the term there, future need, is very specific. The last column we're going to go through is our funding source. As Srijana mentioned, we are now including a bold text to help delineate between what is a potential funding source versus the current funding source. So we will pick on Andy Hume for his runway 1230 extension. You can see grants is not bolded, however, taxes and other are bold. That indicates the taxes and other are the current funding sources for the $434,000 that you see in the green column, and grants is the potential funding source for the future need of $13.5 million. There is a notation within the CIP for our pending legislative appropriations. We cannot move it into the green column until we actually receive the agreement and the funding from the state. So while we may have the list of what was appropriated during the session, we don't actually have the money yet. So we don't move it into the money column until we get that. So there's a clear indicator for every pending legislative appropriation. When we do amend the budget and accept the grant agreement, the CIP will be amended respectively, and that notation will go away, and the increase in the funding column will appear. Now, of the CIP, there is $160 million of proposed funding this year. Now, that is not just in the general fund, that is across all funds in the city. And I would like to give you the breakdown. Fees and services is one of our small categories here of 13.5 million. Other is 3 million, and that typically includes leases and donations or gifts. Those are those oddball funding sources that don't really have a home in these large categories. Taxes is going to be 34 million. Grants, we have nearly 42. And the big pot that usually funds all of our infrastructure projects would be our bonds and loans. You can see there we have 67 million, over 67 million of budget for bonds and loans. And note that none of these are new bonds or loans. These are strictly carryovers of bonds or loans that are pre-existing to date. Now, City Charter 5.6 says a lot of things. But the clear and concise information here is to note that City Charter Section 5.06 specifies that any of the changes made to the proposed budget and the respective infrastructure projects within it cannot cause a cash deficit. That's the takeaway from a large amount of jargon there. Now, before we go on to the individual projects, you see here we have our newly funded appendix. I want to give you a breakdown to bring some perspective to the budget versus our financial needs. This is Appendix A of your CIP. It has $1.16 million of newly funded projects proposed in the FY23 budget. That stems from 339 projects submitted. 266 of them had financial needs identified in the outer years. Those financial needs amounted to $648 million. Only $160 million is funded. And of that 160, only 1.16 are for newly funded projects. 235,000 of the 1.16 in front of you is for the project Srijana mentioned that went through a review process with community development, public works, facilities management, and performance management. So you can see the financial need is always greater, as we always know. And I hope that brings some perspective to the process we have to go through to ensure that we make our decisions as best we can. And the $235,000 worth of projects that we came to are inclusive on this page you see here. They are going to be the 3 under the Parks and Rec newly funded projects, and the rest are funded through other funding sources. So to start with some of the projects and the individual, the information on the individual projects, I'd like to talk about the downtown Callecitas shade structure. And I would like to apologize on behalf of all Latinas everywhere for misspelling Callecitas on the CIP. I put it with an S instead of a C. My mother would be so sad. So you see here it is spelled correctly. We will make that correction on your actual CIP document. I'm learning Spanish, okay? I promise I'm trying.
No worries, Sarah. No días.
So for the Callecitas shade structure, this is being funded by TID, and it's $400,000. And the big distinction here is that these shade structures are for the Callecitas, the little alleyways that access in and out of the downtown main strip. This is not the same shade structure as the big shade structure over the plaza. So these are separate, standalone project of that. The next project funded by TID, newly funded project proposed in the FY23 budget, is going to be the downtown parking lot renovations. This again is being proposed by TID, by the TID fund. It does have a financial need of $500,000, and we did approve, or we are proposing, I'm so sorry, $600,000 as an indicator that COVID costs are increasing and have been increasing. So this is a plan for that. These are specifically parking lots within the downtown district. These do not include other parking lots. Our next proposed newly funded project does accommodate those other parking lots. These would be our facilities parking lot program. These can be at parks, at buildings, or any city-owned infrastructure with a parking lot in it. This has a funding need of $200,000, and this will become an annual project moving forward. So we bring it before you as a newly funded project, but do note that this time next year, it will drop down into that annual category, as facilities management does anticipate budgeting this from year to year to accommodate all of our parking lot needs. The first parking lot they will be attempting to address, the budget should be sufficient, so barring any issues with COVID costs, the first parking lot to be addressed will be at the Henry Benavides Community Center. Our next proposed newly funded project is going to be a maintenance program for all the pavement at the airport. And I do want to make a very clear distinction that the pavement at the airport is very different in its infrastructure type. So it is being funded by the airport fund. Now, this will also become an annual project, and the airport has a financial need that will be ongoing. And at this point, we are behind in addressing our horizontal infrastructure at the airport. So this will become an annual project. This time next year, you will see it drop into that category, and it will maintain its budget until further notice to address all of the horizontal needs at the airport. And to pass it off to discuss the 3 newly funded projects proposed from the Facilities Management Fund is David Cedillo, the Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Sarah.
Hi, David.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, David Cedillo, Public Works Director, and I will be going over the last few proposed newly funded projects. As we move along, as Ms. Rajana had stated, these are all coming from the Facilities Maintenance Fund. And as Sarah pointed out, that amount available was only $235,000. So we have those 3 projects that were described earlier. The first one we have here is for the Juvenile Citation Program Learning Center and the exterior repairs. The amount needed is $75,000. We're proposing to have that money in that same amount of $75,000. This is coming again from that maintenance fund, and what it'll help do is it'll help improve the envelope of that building. So the walls, the stucco, some painting, the upgrades are basically being done so no further damage can be done to the facility itself. As many of you are aware, a lot of our community youth use the facility, and the impacts that it has to them is very great. The next project that we have is the Las Cruces Regional Aquatic Center, the HVAC and dehumidifier. Again, this amount needed is $75,000. We're proposing the same out of that maintenance fund for facilities. This will help with different items in the building, some with connections, mechanical supports, some fasteners that are needed as part of that maintenance that goes on for these items. It may or may not include multiple units, but again, this is to keep up that system and provide funding for any upgrades as they need moving forward. Lastly, we have Mearshite Recreation Center. The need that was asked for was $85,000. What we're proposing is $195,000, however. This will go to improve quite a few areas within the building itself, mainly the bathroom facilities that are there in the main building. We have repairs to those the bathroom fixtures, doors, hardware, as well as some improvements to the exterior with the fascia up near the roof, some replacement and upgrades of window frames, gutters, and downspout renovations that'll help with the maintenance of the building itself. And with that,
the panelists here for the presentation are available for any questions by council.
Thank you, David. You guys all did an excellent job. Thank you. Any questions? Councilor Flores?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Curran?
And thank you. David, I do have a silly question. Mearshite, does it have showers there?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, yes, ma'am, they do.
Okay. I thought they did, but anyway. And so that's included in the bathrooms. That's where it says bathrooms. Is that literally bathroom as opposed to the toilet rooms?
Councilor Flores, the improvements that are being done to the building, those were for fixtures.
Yeah.
They could include the showers,
Okay.
the lavatories, the urinals, all those types of items that are in need of repair at that
Great.
location.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sue. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. Councilor Curran?
Yes, and this is, I'm gathering on all of them, so actually my question is related to slide 9, my pet project, not to use a bad pun. It relates to the city did pass a TNR ordinance last year, assured the community that we were committed to addressing that, and it was completely unfunded and hasn't been on a continuing basis. And so I just want to point out that continuing to not fund TNR means that we should probably think about what we're really saying to the community about that particular issue and community cats. And I think it's a pretty low budget request, but I don't know if it's represented somewhere else perhaps, but I just want to speak to that and really articulate that that's something that the council committed to last year, and I would like for us to see us to actually follow through on TNR. So thank you for that. And then the last thing that I just wanted to mention was related to slide 10 under public safety, the priorities for the things. I know that we previously talked about the cannabis-related funding, but I do want to highlight that I think that if we look to that section of our budget priorities request, that slide 10, public safety, health-related things, has a lot of great priorities of things that we've already established as priorities that might be good for the discussion that the the Finance Select Committee might be having. So I hope that we can look to that and use that as part of the basis for that conversation. Please. Thank you.
Thank
Mayor,
you.
Mayor
Yes.
Pro Tem, Councilor Cron, thank you for the comments.
Councilor Abeta.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you for the presentation. I'm not sure if this is one of the first times that a lot of the public is getting to hear about the Lift Up Las Cruces initiative, but I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Peely to kind of describe that process of how it came to be.
Mr. Peely. You're on the hot
Yeah, thank
seat.
you, Mayor Pro Tem and councilors. Yeah, this has been, when I first came to the city, and was interviewed I had my one-on-one with each one of you. The first and foremost thing that I was told as my direction from the council was to move this poverty dial. And so it's been quite the task to come up with programs and so over time, over this past year and meeting with each one of you, this has kind of been from all of your feedback, really. And several of you have talked about different components of this program, identifying certain areas, including the crime map, including the poverty index. And I think this has been a team effort. I really appreciate everybody, particularly the council, coming up with this and then coming back to staff with sort of the direction from the council. It's just sort of evolved. And we got a committee together, and our committee on staff has gotten this program together. But that's how it really came to be. And again, it's feedback from several of our councilors that have contributed to this. And so I really like the way it's coming up. And then we came back to our team and Carla's come up with a name for Lift Up Las Cruces, and it's evolved as we've met with all the department heads as well. And so it's really taking shape now, and I really appreciate where it's heading. And so now it's even, it's gone beyond me facilitating, and I'm just watching it. Now I'm sitting back and watching it take shape and take form as our staff is carrying this on and implementing. As we've identified the area that, we've mentioned that that came from the crime map and the index, the poverty index. And so
Distress indexing.
Distress index, for sure. And so I don't know if that answers the question or if you want me to elaborate a little bit more, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Feely. I just want to say thank you to all the staff for working on this as we address, social determinants of health, crime, safety, quality of life, and in a way that can become very proactive by using all this mapping. So thank you so much for all your hard work. And thank you, Mr. Feely.
Thank you, Councilor Abeyta. Any other questions on council? Okay, I have a few. I just need some clarification on one of the slides. I'm sorry, I didn't number. You guys always do a great job of numbering slides, but it's hard to facilitate and take notes. So the slides specific to the investment income, Matt, and not showing strong returns. What does that mean? And specifically.
So just with current market conditions, we're just not receiving the
Can't hear you, Matt, if you
okay,
could.
sorry. Can you hear me now?
Go. Yes.
So just with the current market conditions, we're just not seeing the return on our investments for investment income. So we have received lower than estimated amounts on that. Does that help you out?
It does, and I guess, can you tell us in what investments specifically? I know we had spoke there at our retreat about having the gentleman come and really speak to that so that we're a little more informed about where we invest our money. And given, I know for me, the Ukraine issue, I hope that we're not investing in, those areas that would not reflect on in my value set anyway. And so how quickly can you get that together so that we could really have a robust conversation? And I see Leanne. Oh, Leanne. Injuries or, I don't know, knee ailments and such. You didn't have to rush down here. I would hate it if you fell. Leanne.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Every quarter we have our new treasurer. You met Ms. Hawkes. We will be putting together, we put together every quarter an investment. Our investment portfolio, we have an investment policy. We are working on that investment policy currently as Ms. Hawkes came into the position. As you know, we are mostly, our investments are about making sure that we have very low risk. And those items right now that are at very low risk, such as treasury bonds and any kind of treasury notes, are not returning a very large gain at all. Actually, we're trying to, if we can get it 1%, then we go, wahoo, but it's very bad right now. As you know, the Telstar Fund is invested with the State Investment Council as well, and that's not doing really terrific right now either, even though they invest in small cap, medium cap, and large cap, which is a little bit more diversified than what we do as a city. But we do shop. We shop around. We have about 5 financial institutions that we work with. We tell them what we're looking for. We're telling them how long we can invest this money for. That's another issue. Long term, you can usually get a little bit higher investment, but because we need to make sure that our funds are liquid, so that way we can convert them into cash, then we have to take all of those into consideration. So we do shop around. I want you to know we try to get the best investment that we possibly can. And we do, at our Finance Select Committee meeting, we do have an investment report now that we started, so they are receiving those as well. And then Mr. Peely gets our quarterly reports as well. So we are making strides. Right now, the reason you see a negative is we've talked about fair market value. As we invest, we have, the book value, and then we have the market value. And sometimes our fair market value is just not as high as we would like it to be. And so we, hopefully we're trying to not lose money.
Absolutely.
But
Thank
that
you,
is our
Leanne.
goal.
Thank you, Leanne, for the reminder. I really appreciate it. Now, could we get the report from sending it to Christine to send it out to the rest of council, or is that an issue, receiving that? The entire council?
The quarterly reports for the investments? No,
Yeah.
we can send that to the council.
Okay.
We can put it up on our SharePoint and send that link.
Thank you so much, Leanne. And then I wanted to ask about the healthcare provider costs. I think at 4%, if I'm remembering correctly. What does that entail?
Do you want me to go ahead? Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mayor Pro Tem, the 4%, we worked with HR. As you know, they take care of our benefits and work with the state. This is a new adventure for us because we've been self-insured for a couple of years now. And so one of the things, the state has not gone up on their premiums in several years, like about 5 or 6 years. So we were being a little bit proactive and saying, well, what if they go up? We have been working with them to see if there is going to be a big jump, because sometimes they do that. And right now, working with them, we felt that 4% increase on the premium would be very advantageous for us to do that right now. And it could be that we have no adjustment whatsoever. And also, too, on that 4%, it is only budgeted for 6 months of the year, because right now our premiums are set, and they're set through December. So when we start our new fiscal year, that premium will not come into adjustment until January, because they're on a calendar basis. But what we're doing is we're hoping that our premiums do not go up with the state, but just in case they do, we're budgeting a 4% little buffer.
So it's not a sure thing?
It is not a sure thing, Mayor Pro Tem.
It's just as a cushion, just in case?
Yes, ma'am,
So I have to say, I do have retirement from the state of New Mexico, specifically the insurance, and they went up last year. So I'm very familiar with that, being a state government employee. So I appreciate that. I just want the staff and others to know that EFO has been excellent at forecasting and visioning, especially in regards to insurance premiums, and we're very sensitive to that. That's why you're seeing some of the health fairs that we've put together and working with Burrell College, and I know there's a discussion specific to a clinic, and that's all to keep those premiums down, and improvement in health in our internally with our staff. So thank you for that. I took a bunch of notes, and I wanted to ask a few more questions. I really like the pie chart and with the identified categories and whatnot, but I'm wondering if you can look through your budget and because that's just with what you're asking for currently, right? Like where the money is going to specific, but not in the general fund. So like I'm thinking of, a lot of people don't know we pay for our, for the schools, the safety guards, if you will, or a portion of it at least. And so I'm wondering if we could find a way to capture that in a pie chart, where our money is going to as it reflects all those different areas. Does that make sense to you? And maybe what districts the money is flowing to, because I think it's important for us to visually see where our money is going to and which areas of the city. for the purposes of equity, right? Being equitable about what how our budget is really looking. So if you could do that, I would be forever grateful, and it makes it easier for council to speak to their constituents, right? Related to, look, this is just where all this money is going to, and I'm thinking pavement management as well. It's really gotten me to think about Up Las Cruces and the infusion of services that will be happening related to streets and stuff. Even though I love our street management program, I can tell you, and Ifo can say, because I made him tour, I didn't make him tour with me, but he toured my district and saw, right, the conditions of the streets and kind of then where is it in that pavement management program, and how sometimes it doesn't make sense because the conditions look pretty poorly, which is a reflection of what our city constituents are feeling. And I hear this over and over again related to where that is. So, Matt, as it relates to pavement management, how much money is going into? I know that was a priority. Can you remind me again? Maybe I missed it. And in addition to what we put in last fiscal year, what is that amount?
So the current amount is $6 million, but then we provided an additional $2 million for that from the Hold Harmless GRT. So they receive about $6 million annually, and of course with that $2 million bump on that. David, do you have anything on this you want to, sir?
So is that $8 million? Total?
Approximately, yes. Let's see. Right. Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem, great question. The Payment Condition Index project is...
yeah, please. We can't hear you very
well. I got short girl problems.
Oh.
Okay. The Payment Condition Index project is budgeted for $9.6 million. $3 million of that is coming from flood funds. $4 million of that is coming from road funds. And $2 million of that is coming from your supplement from HHGRT. Does that answer the breakdown you were looking for,
It
ma'am?
does, and how does it look differently than last year?
So last year we had the same breakdown of a supplement of $2 million. Well, I guess that's technically the current fiscal year. So the current fiscal year, we have the same breakdown of roughly $6 million coming from streets funding, roughly $3 to $4 million coming from flood, and a supplement of $2 million coming from HHGRT. And fiscal year 22 is the first time you introduced that, ma'am.
So I'm recommending that we put more funding into that. I always think of the gold, silver, bronze standard, like to still inching up to the gold standard. I think it's important. And again, if we can see that pie chart where the money is going to in the particular districts and what yet we have to improve would be helpful to me. Okay. How much money do we have new FTEs? Where is that at?
I will defer to Matt. Slides.
So currently for new FTEs, we are looking at department requests, and we will be meeting with city management soon.
Can't hear you, Matt.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Go. Yep.
Can you hear me
Better.
now? All right. So we're currently looking at the request from departments to fill some of the full-time equivalent positions, and we will be discussing this with management for our work session when we come back on April 25th.
Yay. Okay, good. I just want to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. And then I know one of the priorities that I know you didn't go over them, but we talked about a newly formed health department. Where are we at with that? And is it still, because I felt like it raised very high on that list. So I just want to make sure that it doesn't get lost.
No, thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem. So in discussions with management, we decided to allocate about $200,000 for that just to get that started. And as you saw, we are proposing that from the Telshore Fund. We're hoping that that fits in within the scope of that.
That's in that stuff. Okay, perfect.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
glad I asked to clarify.
So just depending on council's recommendation as well and your approval, if you allow us to fund that out of there, that will help us free up some funds in the general fund to help with our operations.
Thank you, Matt. On slide 30. Let's see if it sparks. Did I miss which lot that was? Trying to rattle my brain to remember if you probably said it and I just didn't catch it.
Mayor Pro Tem, the first parking lot that will be addressed under this new program will be the Henry Benavides Community Center.
Yes, okay, you did say it. Thank you, thank you. And then will you identify the lots across the city? You're going to have, it'll be on the ICIP for later, which would be the following lots, if you will?
Mayor Pro Tem, if you refer to page 2 of the CIP, the newly funded projects for facilities parking lot program is the first project, and there are 3 sub-projects under it. The first one listed with the number 1 is the Henry R. Benavides Community Center. Number 2 is Munson, and 3 is the train depot. We will address them in that category as plausible based on funding.
And how did you come up with those areas? If need, or you did an assessment?
Mayor Pro Tem David Cedillo, Public Works Director again. A great question. There was an assessment done a couple of years ago based on the current conditions of all city-owned parking lots. Based on that assessment, that's how these projects, if you will, are coming up in order.
Thank you, David. Thank you. And then I wanted to talk a little about capital outlay. I love the idea. Thank you. Alphabetical order, so helpful. I love the color codes. I think those are helpful, separating out the nonprofits and such. But then our process as it relates to capital outlay. Now, not everybody knows what that process is, specific to our nonprofits, obviously that do, and I know that through maybe the Finance Select Committee, you've developed a process with forms and such, and I'm concerned about some of our say, for example, our neighborhood associations that are working, and I'm thinking very specifically to our Alameda historic, the neighborhood association and what they're working on currently, which is the gazebo, and sort of some steps that they missed to get on the CIP, and then the dialogue that happened up at the legislative session with at least 3 legislators wanting to fund them, but they weren't on the list, if per se. So I know there was some miscommunication. I feel like we need to I don't know what the answer is yet, but come up with a process that we have identified and let every nonprofit and association know if they're interested in going for this, because I feel there's all this dialogue that happens with the legislature separate from council. I know we all sat, Councilor Flores and I sat at their legislative update Friday with the Greater Chamber, and the legislators are concerned about it and don't feel it's as and it's not a overall statewide. It's a difficult area, and they know that some of our smaller nonprofits get lost in that, don't understand that. So I'm wondering if we could come up with a process where maybe if you're a nonprofit, if you're an association, a letter goes to them at the end of the year, or whenever, September, we're going to have budget discussions, CIP is coming up, please be aware this is our process. I don't know what the answers are, but I know I was deeply concerned that a few of our nonprofits got and not only just CIP, it could be other programming, and I'm thinking of one that had come to me specifically, had a sponsor for a bill for substance abuse treatment. So it doesn't quite fit the CIP process and didn't fit that process per se. So I'm bringing it up because while we're talking about CIP, I know we always improve. And I appreciate the work, but I know that we're missing some of those folks that sometimes don't understand that process. So with that,
Understood. Thank you for the comments, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
I believe we may have some other comments at the next work session, maybe some discussion before then, and maybe have something there. But I believe Ifo may have wanted to say something. I'm not sure.
Thank you, David. No. No, Mr. Beasley?
So no, maybe
No.
Srijana would like to speak on
Srijana.
this then.
Okay. Got you, Flores.
Mayor Pro Tem, thank you for that question. So part of the review of the CIP is to establish the process in better partnership with the CIP process. So currently, we have almost a 15-month lag right now between the time of initial submittals for the CIP and the time that legislation happens in January. So that is definitely something we will be looking at. I don't have a perfect solution for you today, but we will be working closely with the Finance Department, grants team particularly, to look at ways to do this better.
I appreciate that. I really do. I didn't expect a solution, but if I was going to complain, I'd come up with a strategy. I don't know. Anyway, so thank you. Thank you so much for that. Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, all of you who did a wonderful job in presenting. You brought up the roads fund, and where do the monies come from for that fund? David, or Sarah, or Srijana? You'll defer to
Councilor Flores, we have multiple funding sources that generate into what we consider our road and flood funds. Those are going to be your property taxes that are collected by Doña Ana County and then distributed to the municipalities, of course, us, as well as the, hopefully I get this fraction right, 1/4 of 1% GRT, which used to be restricted strictly for roads and flood and is now a general fund. And so the roadway projects that are funded by the funding source are lumped in the general fund at this time.
Okay. So, when we were in our budget retreat, the mayor brought up, he was really jazzed up and just got up and he was like a balloon and just went up all over. And then when he was done, he just disappeared. But he was talking about all this infrastructure money that was coming from the government, dams, bridges, and we need dams and we need bridges around here because when it rains, ooh la la, you don't want to travel those streets because the holes are so big and so deep you can, throw your car off. But so what happened to all that money the mayor was talking about? Are we still working on that? I know that it was just recent, so it's not all part of this, but is that money we can tap into? And the other is, doesn't the DOT give us anything? The feds, don't they give us anything? I mean, they regulate our highways. They should at least be able to provide some money to keep some tar and gravel on there.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, David Cedillo, Public Works Director, and I see if I can answer a part of that. If not, then I'll let Matt answer some of those. Question on, those infrastructure dollars, are we going after them? Yes, we are going after them. As an example, you were given a project there on Elks and Main Street, which we came forward last week with that resolution. That is part of some of those infrastructure dollars that we're going after. So those are things that we're going to be going after. Does the state give us funding through this? Yes, we do have other programs that we participate in with NMDOT to get some of those fundings, some of those being the TAP grant and local government road funding.
Okay, so that comes from the state. Is there any federal money that comes in at all that can be tapped?
There typically is, yes, federal dollars. Some of the raise grant that we're going after, like the flyover there, is federal monies.
Okay. And then, so do you ever see a day coming when, maybe not, you're not visionaries, you're just, engineers and accountants and stuff like that. But do you ever see a day coming when we have a perfect picture of all our roads? Like, I think all of us on City Council, when we first hired EFO, I think we all took them on tours of how terrible our roads are. And I'm, being reelected, people are telling me, okay, 4 years have gone by. What are you going to do about our roads? And I said, same thing I did in the last 4 years, nothing. I mean, you know, I'm not a liar. And I didn't campaign on, I'm going to give you roads, because I know better. But it's really, I think, a horrible shame. And in some places, it's just downright dangerous. And I'm talking about like the Majestic Ridge area, Sundown, Roadrunner Circle, or is it Roadrunner Circle, where, I mean, some of those, I mean, the crevices, I mean, I think EFO's foot could fit in one of them. I know my foot fits in them. So I think about kids and bikes, people in wheelchairs, people with walkers, et cetera, or walking in the dark. So will there ever be a day when we have, or maybe we already have, a graph or a chart of all the streets that need improvement like that? I mean, and I'm talking about not just cap and seal or cape and seal or whatever it's called, but real improvements. And we hopefully do have that. But is there some way, is there a solution in the near or sometime in the future? Is there a solution? Is there a plan for that? And is there, I mean, where would the money come from? I mean, or, I don't know. I just, when you mention roads, I just think of all the roads in my district, and I've been on District 1. I travel that a lot. And yeah, I think, yeah, throughout the city, I travel, I cruise the entire city. I just cruise it, and I told Joanna one day, she said, what, District 6 doesn't have, and I said, Counselor, you have to learn what the city's all about, because we have to work together to make sure that our entire city is taken care of. So David, do you have an answer? Or did you understand my question? Or did I have a question, or am I just ranting? Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, yes. Do I envision that? Yes. I can let you know that staff, they're having the same questions. They're working towards that and saying, how can we improve this? How can we make more of an improvement for our community based on the dollars that we have? Council has made a commitment, and it's shown today, it's shown last year, that this is a priority for council. So do I see that ever coming to fruition? Yes, with the continued help of council, direction on some of the areas that like Up Las Cruces, that's going to get us there. You know, a lot of people say, you know, we have, you know, our roads are horrible, we have these. I think what's not, you know, talked about is the amount of good roads that the city has. You know, I want to say that about 75–80% of our roadway network is in good to excellent shape. You know, we do have those aging infrastructure areas that we do focus on, that we want to improve. And again, that support and commitment from council to keep supporting that, I think we eventually can get there, yes.
And how do you envision that, Mr. Cedillo? Do you see, I mean, do you have a map of all the bad road, the 25% of the city bad roads? I'm so glad you gave us that stat. It just makes it sound so much better. But when your foot gets caught in that crevice, it ain't going to sound so good. But seriously, do you have a map of that 25% of the truly awful bad roads?
Councilor Flores, yes, we do.
Okay.
And that's part of that pavement management system that we have and that we do, and we evaluate periodically on anywhere between a 3 to 5 year time frame. We'll come back and reassess and survey those areas again. That way we make sure that what we're doing and that what we need to do in the future is up to date.
Okay. Well, let me just say this. I was going for a walk one day, walking my little Edie. And she just happened to pull me, you know, in one direction on Golf Club Road. So I just followed her. And I'm glad I did, because the road was being resurfaced there. And it's almost like that private road that the really, really rich people live on, the ones that are selling their houses for almost $1 million right now. You know, the ones that have the beautiful view of the Oregon Mountains, right next to the golf course. Anyway, so that street was being resurfaced. And it was being resurfaced the very same morning that utilities was out there fixing something. And I think I contacted you, and I contacted utility, Delilah and Walsh, and what's going on. I mean, they're digging up a hole to fix utilities, but they're going to, and the people who were working the road said, we've got to do this. This is what we were assigned to do today. The utilities people said, we have to do this. So it was like really crazy. Well, that part was crazy. The thing that was craziest is that that road really didn't need resurfacing. And with all due respect to the people at City Hall, with all due respect to the residents, with all due respect to my constituents, that road was okay because hardly anybody travels it. It's just those few homeowners. That's where one of the biggest developers built his house. And so I understand, or I can surmise, why they have that private nice little road that shelters them from, the regular traffic on Golf Club Road. So does that happen often, where a street those houses went up in maybe 2000? So what gives? I mean, how was that determined? And I'm not, upset at you personally. I'm just wondering why.
Councillor Flores, great question. As a system as a whole, we have to look at everything that we have and the available funds that we have. So as part of that program, we look to see what improvements can be made that'll ultimately affect the rating of the entire system. So, for example, you say, well, that road looks like it's in great shape, and there's other needs that we really need to reconstruct that whole road. Well, a reconstruction of a roadway can cost anywhere between $2 to $3 million for one road. Now, based on that and that amount of money, do we go and do preventative treatments that'll help extend the life of those other roads and our infrastructure as a whole? So as you can see, it's a little bit of a balancing act to see what we can do with what treatment at which time. For instance, kind of like the maintenance of a vehicle, if you will, right? So you want to make sure that you take care of those maintenance items as you go through. That way you don't have large investment, repairs later on down the road.
Okay, very good answer. And that's pretty much what I thought. But it's just that it's amazing. I get those emails, well, because I forward them to you. So I just, for people who are listening, I want them to understand that it isn't that we're not trying as city councilors to meet their needs or meet the needs of the city, but it's just always, it comes down to the bottom line. And in your explanation's a very good one, Mr. Cedillo, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And so is there any funding that does come in from the federal? Oh, Amy isn't here, but maybe Matt knows.
Councilor Flores, I'll turn it over to Matt Sines.
I think he was just handing you a page to read from.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores. So just part of our one of the requests for fiscal year 2023 that we need to take into consideration is some of that infrastructure billing and with the grant match that is required for it, because it does take money to get money in sometimes. So it depends on what we want to focus our energy on. Do we want to go after some of these bigger bills to maybe improve some of our roads? We're looking for direction at this point, so we will open it up for discussion. And
you're looking for direction?
A little
Get
bit.
the money, Matt. One direction, up, high. No, thank you.
So
you're waiting for
management.
Mr. EFO to tell you? EFO, we're telling you. Tell him. No.
You're going to have to arm wrestle.
Thank you, Councilor Flores.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, Matt, and thank you, David.
Councilor Bencomo?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I actually have no questions, and I look forward to our next budget discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bencomo. Okay, any other questions? Any from the audience? Seeing none? I will need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Beta?
Second, Graham.
Motion made by Councilor Abeyta, second by Councilor Graham. Christine?
This is on the motion to adjourn the work session. Counselor Abeyta?
Yes.
Counselor Graham?
Yes.
Counselor Bencomo?
Yes.
Counselor Cran?
Yes.
Counselor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you.
Oh, there it goes.
We are now at the agenda setting, April 4th, 2022. Item 1, consent.
1, consent.
Item 2, non-consent.
2, non-consent.
Item 3, non-consent.
3, non-consent.
Item 4, non-consent.
And 4, non-consent.
That concludes our agenda setting.
Thank you.